For some reason it was bad. Okay, we're gonna go live.
Okay.
We're going live. We're live. It happened. We're already live.
Okay, good. Hello, everyone. I'm Hugo.
Jake.
And this is Unpopular Culture. Welcome. We're finally here to talk about Infinity War, Marvel's newest Avengers film. And
That's
it's,
true.
I guess, part one. Let's, first of all, this review is going to contain spoilers.
All the spoilers. It's in the title, so if you're here and you don't want spoilers, you should leave right this second.
Before we get into spoilers and I talk about some comparisons between the movie and the original graphic novel, or not graphic novel, it was a series of comics and all that.
Compendium of those things, right?
Yeah. Let's talk about just our general thoughts for people if for some reason they clicked on this first despite it saying spoilers. What did you think of Avengers Infinity War?
I thought it might be my favorite. If it's not my favorite, I'm gonna have to watch it a couple more times. It's up there with it's in my top 3 or 4 regardless. I think it was extremely well shot. I think the score was really good. There's only like 2 licensed songs and one of them is the Black Panther theme.
Yeah.
So it's not it's very much.
And one of the licensed songs, by the way, is very much to set up, oh, we're in the Guardians of the Galaxy section right now.
Rubber Band Man.
Yeah.
Rubber Band Man. And that's the only other song. Other than that, I think the pacing is really good. I think all the things that all the heroes are doing makes a lot of sense. It didn't feel like anyone was... I was worried that they were going to have to shoehorn everybody in.
Yeah.
It didn't really feel like that so much, even though, I mean, technically as a writing prompt, it probably was like, but each movie led into the meetings.
I find
the only I was gonna say the only one that seemed like Doctor Strange just kind of shows up, but he already knows where Tony Stark is when he shows up, and I guess the Hulk is the one that's probably the most. He literally falls into the Sanctum Sanctorum.
Well, here's the thing.
but in the
I was gonna say that seems like almost a contrived screenwriting. How do you get these people together thing? It's a little bit contrived, but it's not out of nowhere. In the original comic, it's not the Hulk that shows up in Doctor Strange's house. It's actually the Silver Surfer. He gets thrown there after here he is. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but
yeah, pretty good.
Essentially, Silver Surfer lands in the Sanctum Sanctorum there on Bleecker Street and gives the same message that the Hulk gives in the movie and says Thanos is coming. So all things considered, I was actually surprised it started out pretty similar.
No, that's like exactly... No, that's it. Yeah. I really liked the beginning. Are
we going into spoilers now? Are we going to go ahead and just start talking about this?
I mean, did you have any?
Yeah,
that's as spoiler free as I can get. By the way,
okay.
Is talking about how competently the film is made, because I do think it is very competently made. They specifically they stick on a lot of shots for a long time to build tension, which is not a thing the Marvel movies do a lot.
Yeah,
a lot of times the Marvel movies want to cut and do action. That was part of the problem I had with Ultron.
Right.
This one. Very, very much not like that.
The last third is a pretty solid like action block, but the first 2/3 do a good job of building everything.
Do you know
up.
what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the transition between the last, like the third to last Harry Potter movie, and then the Deathly Hallows.
Yeah,
like the Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2 are totally different films.
Tonally, especially Part 1.
And this felt like the Deathly Hallows version of the Marvel movies. Like we're at the tail end of this first, like, basically phase.
Yeah.
And it very much felt like that in direction.
Yeah. Before we get into spoilers, I just want to say, if you haven't seen the movie yet, first of all, if you've seen any of the Marvel films and enjoyed them, I'd highly suggest you see this movie, because if you liked any of those, you're going to enjoy this. This is up there. It's one of the best ones, in my opinion. It's not an uplifting movie, but if you like these characters, you need to see this movie.
Yeah.
It's an excellent film, and honestly, I'd suggest you see it in theaters, and I hate movie theaters because of children. But let me tell you one thing. This is a movie you're going to want to see in theaters with other fans, because I feel like this is a movie experience people probably haven't had almost since
Empire. Well, no, I don't want to put it up there with that, because Empire is a much better film.
But I'm saying in terms of like audience reaction and certain revelations happening on screen and just like, oh, fuck.
Especially because for 10 years, the culture at large has been sitting with these things, and like new fans have emerged out of this. So yeah, especially And this is one of the only movies I've enjoyed seeing near children, because behind me, their reaction to the events, just beautiful.
Yeah.
So
okay, so let's get into spoilers because we have to talk about the movie.
We absolutely do.
Honestly,
we'll just start from the beginning.
Yeah, let me first of all just say, Marvel, good job with the trailers. Literally, some of the trailers were edited with fake CG that isn't even in the movie to misdirect you. Did you notice that?
The Thor scene.
Hulk isn't in Wakanda at all, but he's in those trailers running alongside everyone.
But not as Hulk.
But I'm saying they literally took the time to CG that trailer knowing he isn't in that scene, just so you didn't totally know what was going on.
The number of gems in the gauntlet during the fight with Cap. Because at that point you think there's hope.
Yeah. Someone asks, what is Empire in the
Empire Strikes Back, the Star Wars. Which... Again, I don't want to put the cultural significance of Star Wars is unparalleled.
At this point, I'm thinking Marvel's.
I'm thinking later, like in 10 more years, we'll see if they can maintain. If they do, I think they definitely are up there.
Yeah.
I mean, right now it's definitely, everyone's talking about it.
Star Wars among its own fans is losing a lot of credit because Star Wars fans apparently hate Star Wars. I'm learning that with every new Star Wars.
I don't understand, but regardless, I think the reaction in the theater is similar to that. I've heard stories and I've even watched, that one. There's one video where a guy has never seen any of the Star Wars and he's never been spoiled on them, which is bizarre. And he reacts to the revelations in Empire where, Darth is his dad. He goes, holy shit. And he just has this like really genuine feeling. That's the kind of stuff you see in the theater. And that's why, as a theater going experience, this is better than just watching it at home, I think.
I would agree. Okay, so let's just kind of, as much as we can, point for point, kind of go through the movie.
Okay, so the beginning starts out with...
starts out right where Thor Ragnarok left off.
Yeah, and I really appreciated that. There's a few things that people have been wondering.
Oh, before we do this, I'm sorry. I wanted to say one more thing about the Marvel Studios logo, the new one that they've done since Homecoming. I didn't like it originally because I used to like just the comic flip, and it was always... I noticed here, though, I paid a little closer attention. I really like the new intro, though, because it starts with the comic flip, like it originally did, but then it transitions into a screenplay, and then it transitions into the movies. Yeah. I didn't notice that as much before.
You just thought it was busy?
I just thought it was too busy, but now I kind of understand the overall concept of the logo, and I actually really like it.
Transitioning.
Anyway, sorry.
Thor Ragnarok, by the way, also in my top 4. They've knocked it out of the park. The last 4 movies, we have Infinity War, Thor Ragnarok, Guardians 2, Black Panther.
Yeah.
Like, come on. We're killing it right now.
Since Ant-Man was sort of a lull. I'm not going to say a low point because I enjoy Ant-Man, but it's a lull point. Every once in a while, the Marvel Studios movies, it's interesting. They'll get a lot of praise. Then they'll make a movie or a couple kind of meh movies and it'll plateau.
Yeah.
And then they'll take criticism and actually like work on their shit, and then they get praise again because they change their stuff.
Yeah.
And then they plateau and people will get used to them, and then they change again. And it's interesting in that they're a studio so far. Disney has been able to listen to fan criticism, but not succumb to fan influence to the extent that it taints the actual.
I think that's a Feige
experience.
Thing. I think he's really tapped into whatever makes them really good. Also, I will say for their darkest and grittiest film, it is neither dark nor gritty. You know what I mean? Like, they do a good job of making you go, oh fuck, you care about things, you're worried about the peril that they're in, and they still have time to fit in one-liners that actually work and don't really steal moments.
You know what blows my mind?
That's really good writing.
I was watching this movie and I was going, Warner Brothers must be shitting their pants because
it's what they wanted Justice League to be. It's exactly what they wanted.
They wanted a dark and gritty thing, but they just went like
dark.
They
capitalized dark and caps locked gritty,
like without understanding that like stakes and character matters, not just like tone and like the color palette of your film.
Oh, that absolutely.
This Marvel movie it has a dark ending. It has like horrible moments. We're in spoilers. Spider-Man literally is like crying to his surrogate father figure and saying, "I don't want to go, Mr. Stark. What's happening?" as he disintegrates.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Also, we talked about this briefly because we tried not to talk about this until today.
Yeah.
The idea, it's so much worse for Spider-Man because he's got spider sense.
Yeah.
So he knows.
No one else knows what's happening, but I would imagine
Spider sense works as a mild precognition. So he knows it's coming.
But the worst thing is he doesn't even know what it is. I'd imagine it's just yeah. And he can do nothing about it.
Right. Which is why it's and also Tom Holland did a really fantastic job.
Yeah.
He's not I mean he's in the body of the movie as much as most of the characters besides I'd say Thanos, Gamora, and Thor.
Yeah.
Probably had the most Rocket with Thor. But he definitely sticks out a little bit, and not in a bad way. I mean, in a good way. Like, good for Tom Holland.
Sure.
I don't know. It gives me a lot of hope for the Spider-Man stuff moving forward.
Oh yeah, I'm excited for whatever. I'd imagine 5 or 6 years from now, Spider-Man will be leading the Avengers. I'd imagine.
Well, he just got knighted by Tony right before that. So.
I'd imagine at some point he'll be leading the Avengers, and that scene gives me a lot of confidence in Tom's acting abilities and ability to become a leading man and take this character from awkward teenage Peter Parker to probably what we saw in some of the more recent comic book arcs where Peter becomes the founder of his own company, Parker Industries, which he basically becomes, and I assume Marvel Studios will do this once Robert Downey Jr. leaves. Peter sort of becomes his own Tony Stark-esque figure where he's much more confident. He's still Peter Parker, don't get me wrong. Yeah. He's not Tony Stark, but he's a successful, rich head of a company that develops groundbreaking technology. And I could see that being the case here as they move
on. Yeah. So we should get back on track.
Oh yeah, shit. We haven't even talked about the movie.
Well, I would really like. Well, you keep talking.
I'm sorry.
And your brain is all jumbled. So
go ahead.
Let's start off at the beginning.
Yep.
We begin where Thor Ragnarok ends, which is an amazing movie. You should go see it if you haven't already, and you shouldn't be here if you haven't. Where their ship that they escaped Asgard with is just fucked, and it's torn apart. And we have this really awesome scene with Tom Hiddleston as Loki. We don't have Taika Waititi's character because he didn't have anything to do with this production. And also, who knows? Maybe he's dead. Probably dead. We also don't have Valkyrie.
Yeah, I found that interesting that they didn't even have a throwaway line.
I think Valkyrie's supposed to show up later in the MCU.
Okay.
But I don't know in what capacity. Tessa Thompson didn't seem concerned. On Twitter, there's this thing with Tessa Thompson, who is the actress that plays Valkyrie, if you're unaware. She's also in Westworld. She's been doing this thing recently as a meme kind of on herself, is where she thinks she kind of looks like a goat. So she'll be like, me doing blank, and it'll be a picture of a goat doing something.
Okay.
Someone photoshopped Bucky, ex-Winter Soldier, instead of holding his gun, holding a goat, and she goes, me in Infinity War. So she didn't seem butthurt about it. It doesn't sound like they just fucking left her character and evaporated it into literal dust.
Sure.
Off screen.
I liked her character anyway.
So I did too. So I think she's interesting. But yeah, Loki has his best scene in any of the films, where he has a long discussion with. By the way, the children of Thanos are awesome. I love the wizard guy. I forget his name. I know they're all based on the characters, and they're all very good renditions, in my opinion. The only problem I have is with the lady with the horns, whose name I forget.
I don't know their names off the top of my head.
She should have been,
except for Proxima Midnight. It's a weird name.
She should have been more practical than CG, in my opinion, but she was very tall, so
sure.
Maybe that was the thing. But anyway, they have a conversation, and like the first thing you see is the wizard guy like proselytizing to all these victims, like, you should be grateful, you will be sacrificed in the great name of Thanos. And immediately you get the thesis of what this is all about. This is about deleting people from the universe so that resources can be more shared.
Sure. Which
cold, cynical math says, yes, that's correct. Humanity and people would like to be like, no, but we can figure out a way to make it work no matter what. You know what I mean?
I've seen something about some people are criticizing Thanos' character because they say, because they say, if he has the Infinity Gauntlet, he could just make infinite resources for everyone. Yeah, that's his character flaw, is that he sees killing people as the only solution, and he's so set in his ways.
Yeah.
That's the character. That's the point.
Thanos is not that logical.
No!
He puts on the air of cold logic, right? But he's also kind of driven by his own hubris.
It's hubris and ideology.
Yeah, and an ideology that he's unwilling to reconcile with like the other things he could do. He also, by the way, the reason Thanos is the best villain so far, and he is the best villain in the MCU.
Yeah,
is he thinks he's the hero.
And
all best villains think they're the hero.
Not only that, the movie doesn't even shy away from framing him
as sympathetic
and a hero. The final shot of the movie
is him crying.
It's him looking off into the sunset, and the music starts
like Luke fucking Skywalker. It's not even a joke.
The movie and that shot starts almost with like heroic music. It does turn into sinister, but I was like, holy shit, they're really going for it.
I feel like it was ballsy, and this is one of the reasons I really like the film is because, like, tonally, they knew exactly who the character of Thanos was. We had 10 years of this buildup. 10 years! And he could have been garbage. I expected to go into this, like, I was going to wear my fan glasses and be like, I'm just going to try to enjoy this movie. I enjoyed Ultron. Ultron's not a great. I really like James Spader's performance. He didn't have enough good writing. I think some of his conversations could have been longer. He was kind of a meme at times. So I was worried Thanos would just be kind of like, a big fighty bully guy for a little bit. And I knew that his backstory had to do with, in the comics, he has an affection for Death, who is a woman that he loves, and Death wants him to delete half the universe for her favor. This is a better motivator, I think, because it's so like polarizing between what like people like Captain America and Tony Stark stand for.
I'm going to agree with you on that. As much as I enjoy comic books, they're silly.
Oh, yeah.
Thanos as a character varies from doing very badass things like the snap, which, by the way, since we're...
happens.
Here's one of the most famous images in comic book history is where he actually does it. This happens actually relatively early in the comics. It happens at the end of this movie, though. He goes to Death. You'll see it. There we go. And he's like... I do like that they got rid of Death because Thanos comes off a little fuckboyish.
Yeah.
In the comics.
Can I see that?
In that he's like, "Oh, Death, why won't you talk to me?" And that's why he does the snap is like, "Oh, I know what I got to do." And he does it.
He's really going to do it.
That's Mephisto, by the way. MCU's one of the MCU's devils, basically. It's excellent. And then here's Spider-Man. He gets a spider sense and all of it happens. Just like the movie.
Yeah.
I love Spider-Man, this circa Silver Era Spider-Man art when you see the city. This is off topic, but just when you see the city.
The Twin Towers are there? Or what?
No. See the blockiness of how they do it's very spider web, and it's very much how they do the webs.
Yeah, I see.
Anyway, so there's the snap. But anyway, I like that they got rid of the Death thing, mostly because it makes Thanos come off as like, "Oh, Death, why don't you like me?" And as a threatening villain goes, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
What they replace it with is his affection for his adopted daughter, Gamora, and that works very well in making him a sympathetic character.
Yeah, also because, like...
despite his obvious abusive tendencies.
Right. He's incredibly cruel. And that show... I mean, you have a really good scene, and we're skipping around a little bit, that's fine.
Yeah.
This is the Thanos portion of the review.
Sure.
You have a really good scene where Gamora and Nebula and Thanos are all in the same room, and he's torturing Nebula for the information to get to Gamora to get to the Soul Stone.
By the way,
which is in there.
It's literally one of the first pages, too. Nebula, he literally goes to Death, is what he does. He goes to Death, and he's like, "Hey, Death, guess how fucked up I am. I'll literally torture my daughter in front of you." And then he just does, and then this Nebula isn't all robotic. She's just like a corpse. It's really fucking awesome. There she is. Whee! See? Boop.
Yeah, she's real corpsey.
They even have, like, I feel like maybe I'm thinking of... Oh, and he fucking explodes her. Wow. Oh, God.
Yeah. My granddaughter. Well, yeah, whatever.
It's different in the comics. Anyway, I'll put this down.
Anyway, so they talk... I mean, it just shows Thanos' cruelty, but the whole thing is he doesn't, like... really react. He just knows that he can manipulate Gamora with it, but he actually truly, and you get some backstory. You've seen it probably in the trailers, him holding young Gamora's hand and walking down, and they have a really good moment where he distracts her from the genocide, which does two things. It both just, he's totally fucked up, and it's awesome. He hands her like this little knife or whatever that I get. Has she had that since Guardians? I don't know. And also it kind of shows that, like, maybe you shouldn't genocide people, but like he knows part of it's bad, but he thinks It's more in a manipulative way,
he thinks the ends justify the means.
Right. Yeah.
He thinks he's a savior that comes in.
Well, he literally thinks, I saved you, Gamora, from myself, and then so he does love her, which is really odd because we have the Red Skull thing happen when they go to another planet to find the Soul Stone. Gamora, for some reason, knows where the Soul Stone is.
They say she's been looking
for it. I'm not saying it's no reason. It's an off movie sort of event. And they talk to Red Skull for the first time since Captain America, the first Avenger.
I'm amazed they brought back Red Skull. I'm so happy they did because
I really liked it. It wasn't Hugo Weaving.
No, really great guy. They got to do it though. He's known for his impressions, which is why they got him, I'd imagine. And in the makeup, you can't tell anyway. Yeah. But remember, at the end of the first Avenger, he gets sucked into the Tesseract.
We thought he died.
I guess he just showed up on this planet and is stuck there.
He's been stuck there tending to the Soul Stone because the Tesseract is the powers.
No, Tesseract is space.
Space Stone. Yeah, he's just been literally stuck there. And he's a much more sympathetic character now. At this point, he's like literally just a tortured soul that's forced to usher people toward the Soul Stone.
The thing about this I like, though, is it gives me hope that at some point he'll escape from that and they'll get that guy to play Red Skull and he'll come back in a Captain America. Because
I like Red Skull later.
I like the idea of Captain America having no one alive or connections to the 1940s except for the Red Skull. The only other person that can even maybe...
Bucky's there.
Sure, fair enough. But, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do. And then he has to throw Gamora into the Soul Stone pit to get the Soul Stone.
Yeah.
And he's actually crying, and they actually shoot it nice and slow like you would an actual death scene for, like, a character you love.
like a movie!
Well, no, I mean, like... This is so easy to fuck up.
No, I know what you mean.
And
I've seen DC movies.
Yeah,
I know.
Martha! But that doesn't happen. It's literally just some crying, and he gets the Soul Stone, and which means it worked because the Soul Stone would know. And then later on, you get more of this when they meet on a planet called Titan. I thought it was the Saturn moon, but I guess it's not.
In the comics, it is. At least in the old comics, they might have retconned that at some point.
They don't allude to Saturn at all in this, so it could be. But which used to be Thanos' home world, and they have a conversation with Stark and Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, who are all there now. And then the Guardians of the Galaxy show up for a little bit. And Mantis gets a hold of him at some point. And she can read minds if you've watched Guardians 2. And this is an awesome application of her character. She can put people to sleep. So she's using all of her power to try to put Thanos to sleep so that they can take the gauntlet off. It's a pretty tense scene, ruined by Peter Quill. But
you know, again,
during that, hold on. Okay. During that, she says, he's in anguish, he's mourning, and that's what sets Peter off because it's of course Gamora. Like the fact that Mantis, like, it's not a trick, it's genuinely how he feels. Very, very good, very excellent. And Thanos brings it up a couple times. He's been like, this day has just been, because it all happens in a day. This is a 24-hour period that we're dealing with, and that's a good, I don't know, it's just a really good device to kind of, it makes Thanos a character that I care about, and not in a way like, oh, I want to hold him, and I just give a shit about whatever happens to his story.
It's like Heisenberg and Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
You don't, I think Vince Gilligan actually said this, you don't have to agree with a character to sympathize with them or to like a character. You just have to understand why they're making decisions. And that's what Thanos is. Also in the scene you were talking about with Peter Quill, when he does freak out and attack Thanos, and that's why they lose it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed this, and I don't know if this is intentional or not, but if it is, kudos to them for thinking of this. The first person to be like, you need to calm down is Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Which I feel like
he's learned his lessons.
Maybe from Civil War when I don't care. He killed my mom. Which, again, by the way, if you look at that scene versus, like, the Martha scene in DC, night and day. Again.
Oh, yeah.
So you see characters changing and growing, their interactions. this is how you do a shared universe. You build on top of things and build on top of character moments from previous films.
And by the way, the scene before this with Tony and the Guardians of the Galaxy and all them, comedy scene where they have banter about the plan they're going to have. And literally Peter Quill at one point, right before this, goes, yeah, this was my plan. So it worked. We win. Like, remember that. It's just the pacing in this and the way they write tone. Like, they know when to be a certain emotion, and it doesn't ever feel bad. I mean, not never. I mean, in the last, 4 films, they've nailed tone.
I think the only one that didn't work for me was Doctor Strange. There were tone issues.
Well, that was in the last 4. That was
oh, you're right. That was
5
ago.
7. Yeah.
Anyway, that's the last one to me that the tone was and a couple times in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. This is just James Gunn's style though in these movies, but
yeah.
Sometimes so often he uses it undercuts these suspenses. Serious thing, and undercut with joke. Yeah. He does that over and over.
Rocket is the undercut guy.
And that's fine. I get that's how those movies are, but sometimes that tends to undercut the actual tension.
Well, Guardians 2, I think, was better than Guardians 1 for that reason, where that took a back seat, and there was a lot of emotional scenes in Guardians 2, which I thought was really good. So,
okay. Let's jump back to the beginning. Okay.
No, we can jump forward now.
I want to talk about a couple more things that happened.
Okay.
The Loki death we already talked about was really good. Yep. I want to point out, I think Loki is perma-dead.
Yeah, same.
The fact that Thanos said, no resurrections, and a couple times they bring this up and talk about it.
And Thor mentions, I think he's dead for good now. I think you could technically stone him out.
I think all pre-snap deaths are permanent. Heimdall, Loki, Gamora. I think that's it.
I don't know about Gamora.
Maybe Vision.
The only reason I think Vision's dead. The only reason I don't think Gamora might be permadead is because of the link to the Soul Stone.
Maybe it's in the comics again. Adam Warlock was trapped in the Soul Stone for a while,
which is why I thought he was going to be involved, but he's not in this movie.
Yeah, he might be in part 2.
I assume he's going to be. So is Nova and Captain Marvel, I bet.
He plays a very big part in the ending of that. Right. This isn't a spoiler for the movie because they're not going to do this in the movie. Adam Warlock in the comics comes in and basically fixes things because of his knowledge and his inherent ties to the stones. He basically puts on the gloves and fixes stuff.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that's going to happen in the movie.
I think Tony Stark's going to put the glove on.
I think it's going to be Tony, and because he's human, it's going to destroy him in the process.
You know what would be better? It's a big ass glove. Tony and then Cap holding the glove with him.
Fuck it. All the
Avengers? But no. But I think those two are the ones that need to go for it to be what if both the idea of the Avengers losing they're both leaders is just really compelling to me. And
so you think them both putting on the glove and then together?
I think holding the glove together and commanding it together, which would reconcile all of their beef over the last 10 years. And also, I don't think one of them could hold it. I don't think Peter Quill can't be there because of the ending. He's the only other person that probably could because he's a demigod.
Not only that, his link to Ego was severed when he blew up the planet. So I think his godhood's gone. Maybe
Thor could do it. So you could do Thor, but I don't think that's as compelling.
You could have all 3 of them if they want to get rid of all of them, but
I don't like the idea of Thor dying because
I feel like they just hit a stride with Thor, and I want more.
It's for 2 reasons. It's because of the stride they hit, but also he's not a leader. He's just not.
No.
So it
ironic considering he's supposed to be king of Asgard.
Right, but he never actually does that.
I know.
He does it for a little bit at the beginning of Ragnarok, but anyways, I just think those two are clearly A and B of the team, or 1A, 1B. So yeah, I think both of them doing the gauntlet at the same time is kind of how I would do it.
Okay.
But I don't... At least one of them.
Sure. The other thing I liked in the opening was they got the Hulk Thanos fight out of the way right away, which is good. Because Hulk tends to be the no one else can beat.
Trump card?
Yeah.
And then Thanos fucks him.
They kind of had to do that to get that idea out of the audience's head.
Immediately, because you can't have hope halfway through the movie that Hulk is going to just fix it.
Yeah.
With his fists. And also Hulk doesn't show up. Does he he shows up one more time, doesn't he? At the end?
He has a couple conversations with Bruce, and he shows up very briefly in the armor when he's like, no, because he won't come out fully. And I love this because this is the first time Hulk in the MCU
has had opinions.
Has been beaten badly. Certainly, you could argue the Hulkbuster beat him in Age of Ultron, though I would argue he gave up because he saw the suffering he was creating.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
And in Thor, he almost got beat by Thor when he got a hold of the Odin Force and he started being lightning god-y. But even then, he got stopped because Thor got electrocuted by the Grandmaster. Yeah. So this is the first time the Hulk has been outright gotten his ass kicked. So I think the Hulk is like afraid and for the first time.
And in the comic, like Hulk has near limitless power.
Yeah,
it's just like it's like a thing that if he keeps pushing, he will just have that strength, and like he could literally punch a planet to pieces. So
he's punched through time twice.
Right. So getting beat up by Thanos is no small thing. Like maybe to a very lax audience, but to anyone that kind of has followed Hulk at all, because I had a lot of Hulk comics growing up. I even had the shitty Hulk 2049 or whatever, the Finn 2099, whatever it was. Spider-Man was there too, and She-Hulk. But just the idea of him getting his ass whooped, and not just whooped that quick. It was like a 30-second fight.
It was beautiful because Hulk generally deals with, he's just brute strength. He doesn't have to deal with fighting. But Thanos is not only as strong as Hulk, probably a little bit stronger. He actually knows how to fight.
Yeah, so and he had one or two of stones.
Here's the thing: I don't think he was using the Power Stone in that fight because
I don't either, because the wizard guy is like, just let him have fun.
And also, every time he uses it, generally it glows, and it wasn't in that scene. So I think Thanos can just beat up the Hulk. I think that's just a thing he can do naturally.
That's great,
which is amazing.
Also important to note, all the Avengers fought him in different pockets. So there was like 3 or 4 different fights, but they were never all together at the same time.
Yeah.
So I think you're probably going to get. We were talking about this. How are you going to have that fight?
Yeah, I was talking about this specifically because I was talking about there are so many characters in the MCU that specifically want to be the one to kill Thanos. Drax, Gamora, Nebula. Quill. And at this point, I mean, Stark,
Cap,
but I mean,
Thor.
There are a lot that like have a specific vendetta. Drax, for instance, his entire backstory is all about how Thanos killed his planet, basically his family on, in one of those culls. So you kind of have to have a thing where everyone gets to kill him. You have to.
So I'm thinking in Ultron, when they're fighting all the different Ultron robots and it goes around in a circle, and it was a pretty cool scene. I think you're going to get one of those where everyone's fighting Thanos.
I think that'd be pretty cool, especially if Thanos is almost keeping up for most of the fight.
He's going to.
Like I don't even know how you stage this in as a choreographer in your head. You're thinking about, here are all the different powers. Here are all the different heroes. Thanos has to fight all of them, and it has to. Well,
Spider-Man probably did the absolute most to Thanos in all the fights.
Spider-Man,
him and Iron Man one-on-ones him for quite a long time, which is actually super fucking impressive.
What I like about Spider-Man is that they still haven't really addressed this. Spider-Man is super OP compared to the other Avengers, except for like Hulk and Thor.
He's a kid and he doesn't know what he's doing, though.
Right, but like, remember, there's early on in the movie when Iron Man is first fighting some of the Thanos' henchmen. He's about to get punched, and then that's where they reveal Peter, because Peter literally just stopped this punch but like he's not like he's like, oh hey Mr. Stark, which implies to me that Peter in the MCU is even stronger than like comic book Spider-Man.
No,
he's got to be bordering on, I don't even know.
Spider-Man has always been,
I know it varies.
Easily the most powerful hand-to-hand combatant in the MCU.
That's partially because of the precognition.
Not partially. I think it's almost all of it. Yeah. And then, of course, he's got the strength, and the speed.
Yeah. Professor X says as much in Secret Wars. He's like, oh, good thing he's not a bad guy.
Because he could beat up all the X-Men.
He beat up all the X-Men in Secret Wars easily.
Yeah. So, Spider-Man's awesome. But
by the way, the Russo brothers who've directed this in Civil War, they've said, oh, we want to do Secret Wars. They've said they want to do it. And I want it so bad. We're getting
X-Men.
Oh, yeah.
2020?
Something like that. I gotta imagine. Can you imagine? They all show up and then it's,
and Spider-Man just beats him up. Oh, and then can he beat up the old like Halle Berry X-Men first as kind of a fuck you to all that whole franchise? That'd be great. Yeah. We're also getting Dark Phoenix that has no X-Men in the title. They're trying to do a Logan thing where they just kind of get rid of the X-Men.
I'm not gonna see that
I
one.
don't think it's gonna be good. But so we continue on, and poor Tony, man. His literal first conversation, which is why I know he's dead. Although I thought this about, to be fair, I thought this about Hawkeye because of the whole family setup stuff, and usually you set up more stakes. But I think the aspirational part of Tony, the one we know he can't have, the one where he wants a family with Gwyneth Paltrow. Why though? He wants a family with Gwyneth Paltrow against my better judgment, but whatever, live your life. And he has a dream where he has a kid with her and everything. And then almost immediately after that, Doctor Strange comes like, hey, you got to go. And he fucking flies off into space, saving the world, saving the universe. And they have this parting call, which I think might be the last time they ever speak to each other. Over the comms in the Iron Man suit, the bleeding edge armor, which is amazing. They never call it that, but it is.
No, but it's that.
Yeah.
The only difference is in the comics, it comes out of his bone marrow, and in this, he has a thing that it comes out of.
I think the bone marrow thing is kind of silly.
There's always going to be that translation from comics to movie where I go, yeah, you needed to make that change probably.
Yeah.
Except for Deadpool. Deadpool somehow pulls it off.
Yeah, Deadpool's fine. So yeah, I thought Tony was going to die, and they have the scene. I think it's because the writers and the director and Kevin Feige, they all knew that we thought Tony was going to die. And so they give him a stabby moment where we all think, okay, this is it. Here it comes. And then, and right before that, you see Doctor Strange literally use the time stone to look up all the probabilities. Yeah. Like 14 million.
Something like
that. And then he finds one path that leads to success. And then he hands Thanos the time stone, meaning this is the way. Tony has to be alive.
Yeah.
Which is very important because he bargains for his life.
Also, Doctor Strange doesn't stop Peter Quill from doing his thing, and if he was looking into the future,
right,
he probably would have seen that.
Right. So, this leads me to believe that, obviously that needed to happen, but specifically the bargaining the time stone for Stark's life.
Yeah.
Means Stark has to be alive at the end. So that's why I think he's just done.
Speaking of Doctor Strange, by the way that they showed him showcasing his magical abilities in this makes me very excited for Doctor Strange 2. Because don't get me wrong, Doctor Strange 1 is great, and I love a lot of the action set pieces because they're very varied and know what they do. Sometimes they're twisted
stuff. By the way,
Thanos
just punches right through those crystally dimension stuff.
Yeah, which is great. Yeah. Great scene. But I like that it was more than just him making weapons out of stuff. He actually also had they're named in the comics, but when he was grabbing Thanos, you could tell it wasn't just energy, there were actual ribbon things. Yeah. That's a named thing he has in the comics.
Also, it was a really cool scene during that fight. He's throwing portals up, and Spider-Man's jumping through the portals. I love it when they combine the Avengers' powers and stuff. I love that shit. There was what was that game? Marvel Ultimate Alliance? Where you could do that with the different... I get a little bit of a nerd boner every time they combine the abilities of these characters together. It makes me very happy. Yeah. By the way... is Winter Soldier's ability just he could shoot guns good?
He has the super soldier serum similar to...
Yeah, but he shoots guns good.
Yeah, mostly he shoots guns good.
Okay.
I liked his new metal arm. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, a little Wakanda with the gold stuff. That's good.
If Tony dies, again, either him or Falcon, if it is, I can't wait. And I want him to get, how he had the star there? I want a Captain America shield there instead of the star. Why you roll your eyes?
Cap had torn off his star at some point off screen.
Yeah, to become presumably nomad,
which is not a thing they say.
I was like, damn, they never say the word nomad. I was like, I thought there was going to be a throwaway line where Ross is like, heard you ain't Captain America anymore, heard you been walking around a nomad, something stupid. But I was going to be
I'm really glad that didn't happen.
Anyway.
Or someone makes a joke, what are you, in some sort of nomad? And that's better, I think.
Sure.
I think it's better to make fun of the kind of corniness. Because Captain America, with all of the self-awareness in the world, goes, call me nomad. You know what I mean? I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. So
also, better than the nomad costume in the comics. That's what I'll leave it at.
Google that. In there?
Google that at your leisure.
Is it in there?
It is not.
Okay.
He was Captain America at this point.
Okay. I really like the dual shields again. He doesn't have the bouncy shield. I like those just for a movie. I like those for a movie. I think he's gonna get it back next film.
It'll be
like Captain America needs a shield. It's gonna be gay, but that's fine.
They mention in
No, I mean his actual will have a gay moment. It'll probably be like Bucky, and we'll ship it, and there'll be lots of memes. And be like, you can't without your shield, and then he jacks him off behind the shield.
Yeah,
and then
they mention in Spider-Man: Homecoming. I don't know if they'll ever. This could have been just tongue-in-cheek references.
Sure.
Happy when he's talking about the things because they're moving out of the Stark Tower at that point.
Yeah.
Which I hope becomes the Baxter Building. Anyway. Or Oscorp, whichever. It has one of those looks. Either Baxter Building or Oscorp. It looks evil enough where it could be an Oscorp. Anyway, Happy's like Thor's magic belt, which is a thing from the comics. Captain America's experimental shield, which implies to me Tony was working on something for him.
One that like bounces around.
But they've already did that.
You know what would be interesting? And this is kind of lame.
Okay. But
there's a Guardians of the Galaxy connection. Like a Yondu-esque shield is kind of cool without the whistle. I just think Rocket's there.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It would make sense if, because of the way the Captain America shield works, you're like ding 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 ding, and then comes back to him. It's not really. It doesn't really follow physics. I think that's okay if you mention, oh, I knew a guy that used to do this. I made it a little bit different. Here it is, and now it just works that way. I'm fine with that.
As long as it's Captain America's final movie, or at least Steve Rogers' final movie, yes. To finally give
I'm kind of okay. Yeah.
So, and
I don't want that more than once, I think.
What I want in the final movie is that, and like he can be wearing the same Captain America uniform, but maybe as the battle goes on, it gets shredded, and it reveals underneath that was that sort of textured Captain America scale-looking stuff all along.
Oh, I don't hate the scale underneath.
And you kind of get the sense that this is...
I want the mask one more time, by the way. I want the mask one more time.
You get the sense that the Captain America you read about in the comics is a legend because of this. You know what I mean?
I'm into that. I really like the idea of the...
super chat.
We Hold do? On. I really like the idea of the comics we have being legends from the MCU.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like the MCU, and I know this is probably going to make some comic nerds upset.
Yeah.
The MCU is Prime.
Sure.
And then the comics are fictional representations of the real events.
Oh, this was someone just said Avengers Ultimate Alliance on Steam for $7.99. Buy it, guys. I guess get it if you want.
I appreciate that ad.
It's a fun game. Thanks for paying us for that ad for some reason. Yeah. Anyway.
I also want out of this, we got Iron Spider, which was amazing. I think that was
oh dude, when the arms came out of Iron Spider, I was like, yes.
How they killed the wizard by just shooting him into space because of a reference that Peter knew just barely.
Yeah.
Kind of funny.
Sure.
Pretty good with that.
Yeah.
The wizard guy was a lot of fun. I keep saying wizard guy. I don't remember his name. I'm sure chat's probably said it several times.
I wish they hadn't gotten rid of him, honestly, because he was interesting enough.
I think, he's only in space. The vacuum of space is very little consequence to most of the Marvel people.
They show him frozen and he starts to crack just as they cut, which could either be PG-13, can't show a guy exploding.
I think it's leaving the door open.
We'll see. They kill all the other ones. Well, no, actually they don't. They beam up two of them after Captain America and his team of secret Avengers beat them up.
The lady fight was fun.
Oh, they do kill her though in the end though.
She gets thrown into a wheel thing.
Yeah.
By the way, where's the Wakanda rhinos? Bring the rhino. If you're gonna do it once, do it twice.
Yo, it's your boy Paul Allen.
Paul Allen. What up, Paul?
He's
Paul.
Wizard guy is Ebony Maw.
Ebony Maw?
Yeah, the names are Ebony Maw, Proxima Midnight. There's a reason they don't say the names out loud a lot in the movie.
His name, I think they just called him Maw.
Maybe.
I don't think they called him Ebony Maw.
Spoiler alert, Squidward dies. That was a funny joke in the movie, too.
Yeah, I did like that. A lot of the jokes, were there any really bad jokes?
I'm trying to think.
There's probably bad jokes, but just like, I think the only thing, okay, can we talk about Peter Dinklage?
Yeah, let's talk about Peter Dinklage.
Dwarves are tall. Funny. That's a funny gag.
Sure.
Peter Dinklage, he's doing that voice, and I know it's supposed to be how the dwarves talk, but I see Peter Dinklage.
He's like a little...
It might be the lowest point of the movie, and I still enjoyed it.
It didn't feel like Peter Dinklage was playing him. It felt like they found Tyrion Lannister.
Yeah.
And they explained what a movie was to him, and they said, okay, act. Like, also, do you notice this was interesting too? The last time we see Peter Dinklage is him saying, where's the handle? I have to find the handle. And we never see him again. He walks off screen. And then the next time we see anything about that is Thor just shows up on the battlefield, which is fine because it builds up Thor. Well, and you see Groot obviously making the handle and everything, but you never see Peter Dinklage again. You don't have to. If this was any other Marvel movie, the mid-credit scene should have been Peter Dinklage finally showing up. I found the handle.
Yeah, but this was too dark.
It was too dark to do that. But I was like, fuck it. And mid-credit scene in the next one, do it.
Found the handle. Yeah, that'd be okay. I'd be fine with that. Well, the next Thor movie?
Whatever. They just...
3 years from now.
They could have filmed it at the same time, so it wouldn't matter.
Yeah. Again, I didn't hate it. It might be the only scene in the movie where I'm like, why?
It kind of goes...
Yeah. He has jokes a couple times.
That's the most almost comic book part of the movie to me, is when they show up there, and I was like, oh, okay, this is the weapon forge. They've talked about it a couple times in the movies where I thought it was interesting. I really like that Thor had to keep it open. That's kind of interesting. Yeah. It also shows his just fucking ridiculous strength. That felt very D&D Quest to me. Yeah. You have to forge your new weapon, you have to let the star, and it'll come through you, and it'll...
It was a little corny, but they didn't like proselytize in that way. It literally was just a mechanical. He had to open the thing.
No, it was just
it wasn't
symbolic.
Like an imbued with him, but yeah, it was definitely symbolic and something you can read into if you'd like. Stormbreaker looks pretty okay. I'm not crazy about the Groot handle, like aesthetically, but I like it thematically.
I don't know.
Does that make sense?
I don't know how assuming this is like final form Thor.
He fucking almost kills Thanos.
Yeah.
But by the way, interesting line. You should have aimed for the head.
Yeah. If he hit him in the head, he would have died, and he wouldn't have been able to...
Well, I know, but he stabbed him through the fucking heart.
Yeah, but he didn't die immediately, so we could fix it with the glove.
Oh.
Which he did, which is why he's sitting on a farm at the end and okay.
Right.
You have to kill...
I mean, I know why he's...
In the comics, Thanos gets beaten by himself, usually.
Yeah.
Because when he has the... I feel like it was a writer thing where they're like, okay, we gave him literally god powers. How do we beat him? So they wrote in a stupid thing where... Thanos subconsciously doesn't believe he's as great as he really thinks he is. So on a subconscious level,
anxiety.
He makes himself lose, which is a stupid thing in the writing, and I hope they don't do that in the next one.
Nah, I don't think they're going to. What I think they're going to do is just his...
Thanos ranges from, like, all-powerful god from literally being arrested by the NYPD. So... There's a wide range of... I'm not kidding, by the way. There's a famous comic panel.
I feel like I've seen it.
He's getting arrested, and it's so funny.
I
know.
I think the best way, or a best way, I'm sure they'll come up with something better. A good way to kind of how the Avengers beat Thanos in the next part of this. I really think it should be some form of hubris mixed with the worthiness, kind of like the Soul Stone chose him based on his worth.
Yeah.
If he's done all this and is no longer as convicted because he's completed his quest, why do the Infinity Stones continue to? You know what I mean? It would make sense if he couldn't have as much power.
It would be nice if...
And also the gauntlet's broken.
It's broken in that shot, but I think it's going to be fixed in the next one because he clearly healed himself. I'd imagine the stones still work. It was just the glove.
Well, no, he snaps, and then it happens.
It's burnt out.
And then they're like, oh, fuck, and then he just goes away.
Right, but this still works because he's able to drop back into a portal. So at least the stones still do work.
Yeah, I just don't think it's as powerful.
I'd imagine...
And the dwarf guy... He can't make another one.
I get the sense that, yeah, he'll be slightly less. But I think what would be better, just because Thanos' whole deal is he is so sure of himself and in his convictions.
Having self-doubt?
Not that. I just feel the universe needs to sit on judgment in Thanos in an objective way. Does that make sense? He needs to be shown...
That he's wrong?
That he's wrong. And that... Because you don't beat him by killing Thanos. I mean, you do, but that's not...
By destroying his ideology?
That's not a narrative victory. You know what I mean? Thanos needs to die, but he also needs to, before he dies, realize, oh, fuck.
Like seeing that, like, taking half the population, what if a lot of the half that dies or is deleted is really needed for a particular
I'm not even
planet.
talking. I think it should almost be he has the glove and he's going to do something, but in the end, the glove says no. The glove doesn't listen to him at some point.
Interesting.
It finally just the universe, whatever, and maybe even have Stanley fucking show up at the end as the one above all and explain what the fuck happened.
I don't want that.
Don't have it actually be him. Have it, whatever.
Yeah.
But have
the universe sit in judgment of Thanos would be very interesting.
Have it say the balance is not you. You do not create balance. And then instead it's, no, these people who are trying to protect people, they're the balance. The Avengers are what?
And so he loses and then has to go fight to prove that wrong?
I don't know.
Interesting. I do like the idea. This is kind of another thing. The last movie, Black Panther, had another similar, although I feel like it was underexplored, this sort of like battle of ideologies, which I really appreciated. It makes villains good.
Yeah.
When I forget his name, Killmonger, fucking awful. That's a terrible name. That's his name though. Michael B. Jordan. When his character in Black Panther is like, no, we should not be isolationists. We should help people. The reason that like slavery even existed is because Wakanda never helped Africa.
Yeah.
And that's true. I mean, that's objectively facts in the MCU.
Yeah.
After the conversation, which again, they should have had a long conversation and then fought. And then during that fight, continue the debate like they do in the fight.
Sure.
And then at the end, as Patrick Boseman's character, Black Panther, T'Challa, does defeat him, and they sit on that ledge together, and then they have that last little moment, and they kind of see, he kind of looks out over Wakanda as a battlefield. I mean, they just literally had a civil war. And part of Michael B. Jordan's character is correct. Part of it is we should fucking help people. It's not to the point where T'Challa thinks we should also be militant in that.
Yeah.
But the fact that there's like, oh, I was far too isolated. You are right in some aspects. That's such a good concession to make, and makes a villain more important. I think like Thanos is probably right, just like resources, like numbers wise, right? Like people, more resources, less people makes sense without adding death to it. Just like if you could add resources and keep, add double resources for the amount of people we have.
The thing is,
you know what I'm saying? That is correct. But like it might lead people to, how like Stark had he was against the generator that could have just unlimited power for everybody.
Yeah.
It's kind of that conversation on a much wider scale. Like, at what point is our knowledge of resources management and our technology? At what point does the benefit outweigh the possible cost? And I think
the only problem with this for me is that
there's a conversation there somewhere that I think is interesting.
The problem is Asgard was a thing. Xandar is a thing.
Absolutely.
I'm
with you.
I have a problem seeing these spacefaring can literally travel the entire galaxy via Stargate. Basically, they're post-scarcity. They would have to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
a lot of the planets aren't, though, is Thanos' point.
I can
He's not there for the Asgards and the Xandars. Although he does destroy Xandar.
That's what I'm saying, though. But he's a hypocrite.
No, he's totally a hypocrite. But the thing about it is, Xandar is just one of the planets on the way.
I guess.
You know what I mean?
Sure. But we also know, Gamora was a planet. I guess we don't know that much about Gamora's planet in the MCU, so we can't say what the level
talks about it, and like people were.
He said they were starving and stuff, I guess.
Well, she acknowledges the fact that that was a kind of a shitty life.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't think every planet he's destroyed. I mean, clearly has been post-scarcity, but definitely like the pinnacles have been.
Someone again is bringing up why not just create more space, more food? I
absolutely agree with that.
It's about Thanos' hubris in his singular conviction to his idea of what the perfect
which
plan
is why
is.
He's the bad guy. It's important for him to. Bad guys are wrong. They just think they're not.
Yeah,
that's why they're bad. That's what makes them good bad guys. Like Lex Luthor.
Not Jesse Eisenberg.
Not Jesse Eisenberg. Actual, real Lex Luthor. Kevin Spacey. No, Lex Luthor thinks he's protecting the world.
Yeah.
And that's I mean,
Generally.
he's also, total dick and is very hubris and up his own ass. But he still thinks I'm protecting the world by denying Superman and his ilk.
You made a Kevin Spacey joke there.
He makes it all right.
But in that movie, his speech about how Prometheus brought fire to humans and how he's trying to be Prometheus and that actually Superman is a stifling influence on humanity.
That's fucking here.
That's a good scene, and that makes sense. That's a very Lex Luthor's pathos scene. God, I'm just disappointed that there aren't good DC movies coming out right now.
Yeah.
I'm a Marvel fanboy, by the way, but I'm also a DC fanboy. I'd really love to get some good DC stuff. Bummer.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens 10, 15 years from now. Anyway, by the way, you can start asking us questions because we're probably going to get into the kind of Q&A section of this soon if you want.
We should talk about the ending first.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
So there's a body of the film. There's some fights. Is there any character? I think the Vision stuff is fine. I think Vision dying we knew was going to happen.
I found it actually pretty
compelling,
shocking at the end how corpsey they made his corpse look. And
they're devoid of color and everything.
The fact that he's a robot, I think, let them get away with that more than if he was just a guy, because I was kind of even disturbed. I was like, oh, that kind of, even though he's a robot,
they show his face.
He looks like a dead guy.
Yeah.
I was like, if I was a kid, I'd be a little freaked out by that.
But that's a way to show the stakes.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he's a person.
Mm-hmm.
He's just not organic.
Yeah.
And like he has emotions, and him and Scarlet Witch have. By the way they keep toying in this film with "there's no hope." Oh, look, there's hope. Builds you up to the ending, because Scarlet Witch and Vision basically get their asses kicked, and then Cap comes in, and it's an awesome reveal. It feels really good. I don't usually get like cheery. I didn't out loud cheer, but the inside of me went, "Wah!"
Insert. I clapped because
No, I didn't.
We've seen Red Letter Media too.
Oh yeah, I didn't. Yeah, but I didn't clap. I just enjoyed the film. But no, it was actually a really good one, because it really did feel like, oh fuck, this is because we've already seen Loki die.
Mm-hmm.
We've already seen a lot of stuff happen, and then at that point you're like, well, I mean, everyone's on the table right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it was good, but they do that 3 times in the movie. They come in and someone, boom, shows up at the right time.
Yeah.
So by the time you get to the end, you're like, okay, even though as a viewer, we both knew, okay, this is going to end with Thanos winning. We know, but because of the motif and the filmmaking, and this is good filmmaking, we still have hope that it won't. So when it happens, we're still like, fuck, man.
Yeah.
So at the end, in Wakanda, after defeating Tony Stark and Spider-Man and the Guardians of the Galaxy and Doctor Strange and Thor separately, but Thor is off doing his own thing, goes to Wakanda, fights Cap, ScarJo, Hulk, all of Wakanda, Black Panther, War Machine, all of that, Rocket Raccoon, and Hulk in the Hulkbuster armor, by the way, very cool. But he never did bust out.
No,
just fun.
Surprising.
So that fight goes on against basically the children of Thanos, and then these really awesome alien designs that with they were very animalistic. It reminded me of what World War Z, the movie, should have looked like. Like, I actually felt like those are threatening.
I normally don't like the faceless. I think Red Letter Media actually talked about this in their review
faceless
too.
Monsters.
Jay specifically talked about this, and I agree with him.
Like the Chitauri?
Generally, I don't like the faceless monster thing they do, but in this, the faceless monsters are faceless monsters, so it makes sense.
Right. It's
the Chitauri, I always got the feeling
they're like paper mache.
Or they're like aliens. They're like humanoid, so it's weird that they're just being treated with this disposed.
They were literally like Power Ranger putties.
Yeah, in this,
it was just stuff to punch.
In this, it seems like these are like alien animals from some planet.
Do you know
that Thanos
and the
just
thing
put in a thing and let loose.
And the thing that worked the best about it is their total disregard for themselves as they throw themselves into the Wakandan shields, and they're getting singed and burned, and you see their flesh like getting eaten away, and they still fucking run.
The movie
that's such good pay, and we spend like good 5 minutes on just that
because the movie tips its hat at the point. These are disposable henchmen. That's how powerful Thanos is. He has that many throwaway.
He throws like a million at him or some shit, like hundreds of thousands. It's awesome, and it's a really good scene. And then they all realize, okay, they're gonna circle this whole city and fuck us. We have to open part of it because they don't seem very smart, so they'll at least fight them in front of us.
Sure,
and that's cool because. It's Cap and Bucky and I think Scarlett Johansson talks about it, but also oh god, I'm forgetting her name. Okoye, the general, talking to T'Challa about this, and they're all like these are the tactician heroes.
Yeah.
And so they're actually have a discussion about tactics calmly as heroes that, you know, they're not super worried about themselves, they're worried about the city as a whole. We got to protect the city. And they make a call, and I think it's the right one. And I don't think, you know what I mean? And so there's this really cool fight. I think it's a good sequence. It didn't feel, again, I'm using Ultron a lot because it was just stuff to punch the whole time. Like the robots are just stuff to punch. I mean, I had a MacGuffin to get and whatever.
Yes.
But this doesn't have that. It's literally just tower defense, the movie, for a minute, which is good, actually. I like that because I like the idea of like this ridiculous horde. And then again, to burn the motif in, just when it's going to look really bad, Thor finished the hammer, teleports himself, because there's a little more energy somewhere. I forget what the actual mechanic was.
The Bifrost. He can use the Bifrost. It's like a spell.
So this can call the Bifrost. He brings him and Groot down, and they turn the tide of the battle, and it's really, really interesting. And then Thanos shows up.
Yeah.
And you think, okay, this is where the other guys come in at the end, even though I know that it's totally fucked, and they have a really good fight. And of course, Cap is there right at the end, holding the fucking gauntlet. And then Thanos just like this, and people start just disappearing, and the Avengers lose. And again, I knew it was going to happen, but the way they handled it, it wasn't just, boop, oh, they're gone. No, you get to watch each of these characters individually that you've spent up to 10 years with literally drift away into ash all over the different parts. And by the way, Tony and the Guardians and Doctor Strange definitely knows, but Spider-Man, they don't know why that's happening. I think Tony probably by the end of
he
it
intuits it.
But Spider-Man doesn't.
Yeah.
And that's why his Tom Holland scene is one of the best ones, is because he's just a kid. He's literally a teenager. He's like 16. So it makes it really sad. I just think that was a good ass ending.
I don't know if you noticed too, the two people, I know we already talked about Spider-Man's spider sense and his ability to sense it. Mantis also did. Did you notice that? Because she has empathy. She almost had an Obi-Wan moment. She's like, something's happening. Yeah. She probably felt everyone disappearing.
By the way, Drax looks like he dies like 3 times in this movie.
Yeah.
He gets dematerial. I thought he was just fucking dead.
I thought he was dead when Thanos did, because it looked like he chunked him up into like meat cubes. And I was like, oh, fuck.
I was like,
this movie doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
But actually,
it doesn't, but
I like that
it's just
Thanos didn't perma-kill them. You know why? Because it shows to me Thanos,
he doesn't find them threats.
He also doesn't consider himself a reckless murderer generally.
No, he does it because, I mean, the Gamora
does
thing,
because they were coming at him.
He doesn't indiscriminately kill people.
On
purpose.
The most we see him indiscriminately kill is Thor's ship, and that's because it's full of Asgardians who are all incredibly strong relative to human beings.
Right.
Thanos, I really feel like tries not to kill people.
That's not even the case necessarily. He leaves Thor alive.
Yeah.
He leaves Thor alive, and the only reason he kills Loki is because Loki tries to fucking assassinate him.
Yeah.
And that whole time, the children of Thanos, there's other ships there that aren't being blown up in that scene on the outside.
Yeah.
It's just that ship and a few others.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's not that indiscriminate. I think they knew who was on that ship.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I really think it was a very thoughtful way to approach the character. And, I don't know, man.
I want to give, again, I understand this is a corporate product and it seems like we're shilling whatever. At the end of the day, this is a movie made by Disney. If you have problems with Disney, whatever, deal with it and don't consume their products, that's fine. this is a product. But as far as a product go,
good product.
This is a fucking excellent product.
I mean, okay, but
this is a film, I think, written, produced, and put together by a group of people that understand the characters they're working with, which is, you'd think that's bare minimum. But it's not in this industry, apparently. We see that based on the competition. I'm not going to just shit on DC a ton because, again, I want good Batman movies. I want good Superman movies.
Yeah.
But I feel like in those movies, you can tell there's a fundamental misunderstanding and misattribution of these characters and their characterizations. Whereas the Marvel Universe gets it so much. Even in things that they change. For instance, in the comics, depending on the storyline, like the Demon in the Bottle storyline, Tony Stark is an alcoholic. There's very little of that in the MCU. I think you only see him drink like once in the first Iron Man.
Yeah.
But they get the core of what these characters are, and that's enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The characters, when they interact, sure, sometimes it'll make you roll your eyes at a cheesy joke, but at no point are you like, this is contrived. It feels natural.
It does. And I think a lot of that has to do with two things. I think the quality of actor and actresses they get is pretty high.
Yeah.
I think Josh Brolin did a really fantastic job as Thanos. Of course, I mean, Robert Downey Jr.'s whole career really restarted after this.
Yep.
Although you guys should see his he did Charlie Chaplin. I think it's just called Chaplin.
Chaplin, it is.
His film where he plays Charlie Chaplin is incredible, and you should watch it. And it's much before this.
It's also just Charlie Chaplin's life story is just very interesting if you don't know.
Oh yeah, but he does a really, really great job depicting that person who I'd, as a film buff, I admire Charlie Chaplin. But the quality of talent they get is super high, but also I feel like the directors they have chosen for most of these movies, especially the last handful, have really let the actors sort of like Chris Hemsworth knows who Thor is more than anyone else. You know what I mean?
Someone had a good point too. They also he killed the Asgardians because they were refugees that would have taken up more space on another planet.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense too. And remember, at the beginning, the movie begins with them even saying, "This is a refugee ship. Yeah. We are not armed." Thanos kills them. I'd imagine he probably thought, like, here's more people that don't have a home for whatever reason.
Right. And don't think for a minute the political implications of that sequence is lost on me.
Yeah.
Which I think is important for movies.
Yeah.
I never liked Gamora until this movie. I have a feeling her death is permanent. I think it's permanent.
I think it's permanent too. Either that, or if she's not, she's trapped in the Soul Stone.
If she's not permanent, I think they're gonna get. Yeah, I think you're gonna get before the end. Her and Quill get one last few moments together, and then she's gonna have to go, and Quill's gonna have this sort of. That's gonna be his character point where it's not gonna be rage all the time. Yeah. Because, like most of his stuff, like the last movie explored literally his rage and his loss and how he deals with bereavement.
Yeah.
This one, he experiences that again and he reacts the same way. But if he gets to talk to Gamora again, like Thanos can talk to Gamora now.
Yeah.
So I think she is connected to the Soul Stone right now. So I think Peter Quill is going to have a moment.
I think in the sequel,
and that'll be his arc. It'll be, I'm a hero. I have to be responsible. I could have prevented this.
I think in the sequel, they're going to replace sort of Thanos talking with Lady Death with him talking with Gamora.
Absolutely.
And that's going to be his focus, is him.
Yeah.
When they focus on Thanos in the sequel, I think it'll mostly be him dealing with the fallout of the snap and him discussing it with Gamora.
Yeah. Actual Gamora too, and not something in his head. Although she might be in his head, just based on how that stone works.
Either way, he can talk to her. He is the
Infinity Stone. Also, is he in a mind palace at times in that? Because there was a moment where he's like in a void, and where he's with her, and then he's on the mountain top. Is there like a
not clear?
Okay, I'd like to figure out what that is.
It could easily be.
Could it be the quantum?
No. Quantum realm is different than the Marvel. I actually have this is great. It's a travel guide to the Marvel Universe, so it's written in the style of like a learn about this actual place, but it's all written from the perspective.
Can't he just bring her back? I think that would go against the Soul Stone. I don't think he can.
Yeah,
I don't think he can.
I'm not gonna hard say Gamora's not coming back.
Me either.
But
I just don't. I think it serves the story better if she just stays dead. Personally, because it makes the Thanos sacrifice more, and it makes his character more deep. It you know,
I know what you mean.
not
No,
deep,
I know
not
what you
deep
mean.
like
I know
oh
what
my
you
god.
mean.
No, I mean there's depth to his character. Whereas if he knows that he can just boop her back, I think that, and even if he can, I think that ideologically she was one of the chosen people to be culled, and in his ideology, which was clearly stronger than his love for her,
Yeah.
that would just be a reneging of the. And I don't think the Soul Stone would put up with that,
Yeah.
considering how it operated.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think it's even crossed his mind. Otherwise, I think the Soul Stone would obfuscate.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Because the stones kind of have like personalities. Maybe not like they don't joke or anything, but I think they require a certain attitude.
The Mind Stone, which helped create Vision,
Right.
also was what created. That's where they got the Ultron AI.
Yeah.
Remember, as they read that
Right.
stone, so that's probably the personality, partially at least, of the Mind Stone is Ultron.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to have James Spader in a Mind Stone for some reason.
Yeah.
Again, I really love his conversation with Vision at the end of Ultron,
Yeah.
but it just wasn't long enough. Look at me. I'm here instead of for the popcorn eating blockbuster movies. I'm here for the political conversation between characters.
Yeah.
Fucking douche.
What else happens?
The stones are not sentient. No, I know the stones. That's not what I mean. I don't mean sentience.
They have a will.
Yeah, you know how the One Ring isn't sentient in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
but it does have wants, and it pushes things in directions that it wills without having a personality. Does that make sense? There's no other way to really describe it.
I would say similar to either like Excalibur worthiness or like a Thor's hammer worth. It's not that it's like it's not a thought process. It's more a drive and motivation.
Right, and that's why I think the Soul Stone, like, it required someone to, like, the Soul Stone, like, love is involved with the Soul Stone. It required that sort of commitment to even wield it. Not that it thought about that. It's just a parameter under which its use is provided. So, no, I don't mean sentience. It's they kind of all just have their different. Yeah. Like the Tesseract acts in ways in the films. It doesn't actually do it. You know what I'm saying? But it definitely.
The Tesseract sent Red Skull to that planet.
Right. So I mean, I'm just saying, like, there's definitely a force moving things.
If it's not the stones themselves, then then it's like the one above all in the Marvel universe, which
acting through the stones, which is whatever. But that is
the Celestials.
But that is sentience, and just makes them cell phones, and that's I think it's more interesting if they act like very powerful artifacts we see in other movies like that. Does Ant-Man die? Ant-Man is not in the movie, and you shouldn't be here.
Did you see the set photos from Avengers 4? I did. Avengers 4, I'm going to imagine, involves time travel, probably.
What do you think it's called?
It's either going to be Infinity War Part 2.
Yeah.
Or maybe just...
That's the easy one.
The confusing thing would be because they called this one Infinity War instead of Infinity Gauntlet, to call the second one Infinity Gauntlet instead of Infinity War.
That'd be okay.
That'd be a little weird, but...
Confusing for you.
They could just... If they pull us, like, surprise and the Fantastic Four show up, it could just be Avengers 4, but the 4 could be the Fantastic Four, but I don't think they'd do that. There's already too much going on. They can't introduce the Fantastic Four on top of that. I think it'll be Avengers Infinity something.
What about just in Avengers Infinite?
There's also a rumor that it might be called Avengers Forever, which is an actual name of a thing in the comics.
By the way, you were talking about this Sunday. It should be, Cap should finally say Avengers Assemble.
Oh, he's gotta finally. They've been building it up
one time.
Yeah,
because he says it. He almost says it. They tease it at the end of Civil War. Avengers.
Yeah,
and then they cut.
Yeah.
Of course, the Electric Boogaloo jokes. Come on, guys. We could do better than that. Avengers Days of Future Past. I'm going to kill myself.
Avengers, I'm going to kill myself.
Yeah.
Just about Tony Stark's depression after the snap.
Avengers. Paul Rudd's here.
It's just Paul Rudd working at Baskin Robbins. It's like, lots of jobs opened up since half the population died.
How do you feel when Star-Lord ruined the big plan? Also, did you cry when Spider-Man died? I did not cry. I don't cry at movies ever. You cry?
No, I didn't cry.
I felt something.
The end of Guardians of the Galaxy 2 made me cry.
Because of the daddy issues?
Yeah.
Nice. No, I mean, I really like Tom Holland's performance. I just don't usually cry at movies. I'd probably have to have a day, like an emotional day, and then have a good cry watching something. I don't know. What's a sad movie? The Notebook. I actually don't like that movie.
You don't like The Notebook?
I don't like The Notebook. It's so fucking like, I don't know. Isn't it Nicholas Sparks that wrote that? See, I was gonna make it's such a Nicholas Sparks book, but it is. So yeah, it's just it's so fake romance.
Were you about to say twee?
Twee?
Yeah.
Twee?
Yeah.
Is that a word?
Yeah. You never heard the word twee? Google it. Anyway.
Okay. TWEE?
I think so.
Is that what? TWEE? Twee, excessively or affectedly quaint, pretty or sentimental. Yes. I've never heard that word in my life.
You've never heard the word twee?
If I have, I misunderstood it as something else.
Oh.
So yeah, I've never heard that word in my life. That's
there
weird.
You go. Now
Usually I'm the vocab guy.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, it was excessively that. Yes, it was so ham-fistedly, we love each other. Like Rachel McAdams, you've never experienced love. Don't try to sell this to me.
Yeah.
That's a Rachel McAdams burn she didn't deserve.
Sure. By the way, Adam Warlock,
who
looks like this.
There he is. Yeah.
Was teased in
he's a gold-faced man in
Guardians 2.
Yeah.
You know who I want to play Adam Warlock?
Tom Cruise.
No. You get 3 guesses. That's number 1.
Well, fuck.
Think Guardians of the Galaxy, because he's going to primarily be a Guardians character, I'd imagine.
Oh, okay. Well, fuck. You put me on the spot here. I didn't plan this.
I'm just telling you.
So, Owen Wilson.
No.
That would be really good, though. Wow.
Kevin Bacon is my choice.
Fuck you.
I think it'd be funny, too, because in this movie, Thor's like, they're like, who's Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes? Like, Kevin Bacon?
Stop it.
I'm just saying.
Stop.
Oh, here's the, also, final shot of the film. Very, very inspired by the final pages of this comic. Thanos learns the error of his ways and becomes a farmer and sits there and watches the sunrise on his farm.
Yeah, happy ending for Thanos.
I'm not against that in the movie.
Kind of not.
I'm not.
It depends on how they go about it.
And they actually, this is famous too from the comics. He puts his old Thanos armor on a scarecrow on his farm, and the scarecrow is in. I don't know if you saw it, but the scarecrow is in the movie.
The scarecrow with his armor?
It's not. It doesn't have the armor on yet, but I'd imagine by the end of the second film it might. Or it's just a reference to this in general, and that's the last
interesting.
But that's fun. Actually, in the sequel to this, the opening shots of it are stuff starts happening, and Thanos notices, and he's like, "Fuck!" And then you see the scarecrow without the armor on it, and that's showing him coming back into action. In the sequel to Infinity Gauntlet. It's called Infinity Gauntlet in the comics, not Infinity War. The sequel is called Infinity War. In that, Thanos comes back, but he's helping the Avengers, which would be interesting if they go down that path. I don't think they will, because comic book logic is, oh, you killed half the universe? You're a good guy now, so that's okay. Movie logic doesn't work that way, because it's closer to reality. It'd be kind of like if Osama bin Laden was like, I learned my lesson, guys. Can I help you stop terror? Like, it wouldn't make sense, but
that's funny.
Anyway,
who's this other green guy? Who's that?
Who's that? Oh fuck. It said earlier.
I gotta find it. There's a green guy.
It says very early on. I was rereading that the other day.
Early, like early pages.
Oh yeah.
Oh. Okay. Well, I'll find it.
I don't think you will, but anyway,
I will definitely find it.
So yeah. We're pretty much done. Ask us questions or Q&A things you want, our opinions on the movie, about specific things. Go ahead.
Indeed.
By the way, Doctor Strange has a fucking great porn stash in this.
Oh, man, does he?
70s Doctor Strange didn't give
Look
a
at
fuck.
That porn stash, dude. Love it.
This is great, too. When Wong disappears. Dumb pun.
Master, I feel a Wong.
I feel Wong. Get it?
I feel Wong.
Eh.
That's pretty sad.
How Thor know to teleport to Wakanda at the end? He's a god. I'd kind of let that go as just kind of...
Then
Maybe he... I don't know how specific Bifrost commands are. It's a magic spell, so I guess he could probably be like, bring me to Thanos.
Well,
wait, no, Thanos wasn't there yet. How did he know to go to Wakanda?
Heimdall had the vision, so does the hammer give him the vision?
I don't know.
Because when he uses, that's how Heimdall uses the Bifrost, is he has the vision. And then
That's true.
So I think the Bifrost spell just comes with that.
Also,
I could be wrong. Maybe they'll never bring it up. But
when Odin died, Thor gains access to the Odin Force, which then becomes Thor Force, which kind of gives him God knowledge. It might be a plot hole. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying if you want to plug that hole with some canon stuff, you can. Do you think Heimdall intentionally sent Hulk to Doctor Strange? Yes. I think Heimdall is very aware of who Doctor Strange is. That'd be an incredible happenstance if he wound up on Bleecker Street just because. Do you think Thor would make a good Guardian of the Galaxy after this? I think it would be cool. Maybe that's just me, they say. Maybe. I don't know what the makeup of the Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be after this, though. If it still has Peter Quill, I don't feel like you can have Thor and Peter. Otherwise, it's just them having a dick measuring contest the whole movie, which is funny for like 5 minutes, but not for 2 hours. In the comics, Iron Man joins the Guardians of the Galaxy. That'd be interesting, but they won't do that.
His name is Destroyer.
Destroyer? That makes sense.
Also, he's a Skrull. Or Skrull?
Skrull. You don't know what Skrulls are?
No, I do. I said it wrong.
Where is Valkyrie? We mentioned earlier she's supposed to show up again at some point.
Also, look at Hulk's. He's getting ready to do some sex outfit.
That's when Hulk is intelligent, by the way. He's not.
So wear a fucking shirt like a person instead of this velvet brown outfit.
Yeah.
Destroyer. Stay thy hand, Destroyer. Stay thy hand. Yeah. I'm pretty happy with
The only thing I'm sad about is that I have to wait a year to see the sequel, basically. It really is just it feels like half a movie because it is. This is a 5-hour movie that they cut in half and are releasing a year apart. But that being said,
would you have sat through a 5-hour movie of this? Because I think I would have.
I would have. I'm a pretty sad person, though, so. As you can see.
God damn it.
So. I'm excited for some Adam Warlock shit. I'm excited for, like, Silver Surfer and Galactus, because they're buying
They
Fox.
just got the rights to that shit, right?
I'd love if they beat Thanos and it all ends, and then, like, at the end, they think everything's fine, and then the post-credit scene in that is Silver Surfer shows up, and he's like, Galactus is coming, and they're like, oh god!
Why can't it end?
Living in the Marvel Universe is a sort of prolonged hell where, like, world-ending events come pretty much annually, so you get it. Or it'd be great if it cut to, at the end, Latveria, and you just see, like, maybe when everyone returns at the end, one of the people who got disappeared and reappears is Doctor Doom, and he just goes, what was that? And like that's his thing that spurs him to begin doing stuff.
That's kind of fun. I like Doctor Doom in concept, not in action.
It depends on who's writing him, but the idea of Doctor Doom, for those who only know it because of the bad movies, Doctor Doom generally feels like most good villains, doesn't think he's a bad guy. Doctor Doom, a lot like Thanos, actually, believes that the end of the human race is essentially inevitable and that humans can't survive on their own, but instead of killing half the population, Doom just thinks, I should be in charge and be literally like the ruler of the world. I need to be, he would call it benevolent dictatorship. Other people wouldn't. Which actually happened in the recent Secret Wars. He became God Doom God, and he became God of the universe, basically, and recreated it in his own image. It was very cool. But anyway, let's see what the final questions are. Then we'll probably wrap this
I
up.
also like that Namor is in this, but he does nothing. He's Marvel Aquaman.
Submariner. And actually, Submariner came first. I always like to tell people that.
Submariner came before Namor?
Yeah. Or, I mean, no. Namor came before... Wait, Namor is the Submariner.
Right.
Yeah, Submariner came before Aquaman.
Oh, you mean before Aquaman?
Yeah.
Right. That's why I was confused.
Actually, the first comic book crossover between superheroes that I'm aware of, I could be wrong, someone correct me, I believe was Marvel's Human Torch versus Namor. And it was Water Hero versus Fire Hero.
I actually think I remember that.
But it wasn't Fantastic Four Human Torch because Johnny Blaze didn't exist yet. It was the original Human Torch, which was an android. Yeah. Kind of like Jay Garrick Flash. Doesn't get brought up a ton, but it's nice flavor for your backstory, you know?
He's Reverse Flash in the show. Do you know that?
Who?
Jay Garrick.
Jay Garrick?
Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah. Or whatever the black suit.
That's not Reverse Flash.
No. Reverse Flash is the yellow one.
Eobard Thorne.
Who is
Dr. Zoom?
Yeah, no. Yeah, I was wrong. It is the black. Am I thinking of Zoom?
Johnny Storm, not Blaze. Sorry.
Who's Johnny Blaze?
Ghost Rider.
Oh yeah. Sue Storm.
In fairness, can you blame me?
No, I've definitely called him Johnny Blaze.
In fairness, Johnny Blaze is a better name for that character based on Marvel naming conventions also.
Yeah, but you can't have Sue Blaze. That's just stupid.
What else?
You're the question man.
What about the hero we all need, Dr. Bees? I understood that reference.
I do not understand that reference.
Look up Dr. Bees after this. You won't regret it.
I'll look it up now.
Is
it a video?
It's a video. Just watch it later.
I just want to see what Dr. Bees looks like.
Did we catch the Batman joke? I did not.
I did not catch a Batman joke. Oh, no, I've seen Dr. Bees. Yeah, I've seen this. What's that from? They're just like, please leave.
What did we think of the score? That's actually a good question.
Really good.
Really? I don't. The Marvel movies, I don't feel like it's.
Well, I don't think. Well, okay. How about this? I don't think it's like John Williams. What I think is it lended to the tone a lot.
I don't like the Avengers score generally. The only song in any of the Marvel movies I like is the Avengers theme song. Everything else is just. I think it's pretty poor incidental music.
I guess I don't know. I just think it maybe it's because of the shots, but they sat on moments a long time, and the score reflected these things.
I just feel maybe it's because
it wasn't so punchy.
This is probably a generational thing, although you would probably agree with me on this. We grew up watching like Batman and Superman and stuff. They all have like themes. Like you think Batman, you think da 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 da. There's no Iron Man song though. You know what I mean? Other than the song that is not actually related to Iron Man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really wish the MCU had like musical motifs for certain characters that were memorable.
80 theme songs.
And I recognize that this is not an original thought. I know Every Frame of Painting, I think, did that video on it that was very good, which you should check out.
Very good channel.
But I think it's true. I really, the only one that even comes close, I know Captain America has a little music sting that you sometimes hear when he comes on screen, which I didn't notice in this movie very much.
It did in the
like
vision,
when he shows up the first time, a little bit, but it was very underplayed. I don't know.
I guess I just don't. Well, that's not how I look at a score, though. I guess is like I don't give a shit if each hero has its own theme.
In most things, I would agree with you. Like a comic book. This is the kind of movie where I really think.
Well, John Williams is known for doing that, so
theme.
Maybe that's like your bar because like there is a Millennium Falcon song and there is a Luke Skywalker theme.
Superheroes are like one of the only genres that really lend themselves to strong theme songs and theming because their whole idea is this is a character that has powers based around a theme. So it makes sense for them to have a theme song. You know what I mean? Sure. Spider-Man.
Right, but how do you do that?
They actually did they did the orchestral version before the Spider-Man Homecoming. That was actually pretty good.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I don't know.
I think that one's actually a pretty good arrangement of the Spider-Man theme song they have for him.
If you play Spider-Man before he shows up in the Avengers movie, it just, I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like
Have
the
you,
idea
have you
of it.
heard the long version of the Spider-Man theme song orchestral? I have. There's some pretty good parts. It gets actiony. It goes. It's sort of jazzy with the. I can't do it correctly.
Sure, but
It sounds like a normal movie score if you didn't recognize the Spider-Man 60s theme.
this movie is very quiet.
I don't know if quiet's the right word.
Oh, it's very quiet.
It's loud with explosions.
In the fight scenes, there's lots of really quiet moments.
I don't feel like there's a ton.
Yeah.
When Thanos is on screen, shockingly, usually because he's talking about why he's doing the things he's doing.
Yep. Thanos is about a good third of the movie.
That's probably true.
So you also have some short conversations just between all of them. Basically, before the third act hits, you have a lot of slow conversations leading up to craziness. Like the entire conversation on Thor's refugee ship.
Yeah.
That's all quiet. Like it starts out with a sting, of course, because it has to. And then when they start just having a conversation, it's just the four of them talking.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, compared to every other Marvel movie, this is a lot of good pacing, man.
So, someone asked a question, which I think is interesting, and I've been thinking about this. Someone said, do you think they'll use the next movie to, when they bring everyone back to life, do they think they'll use the Infinity Stones to integrate the Fox acquisitions like Fantastic Four, X-Men?
You can, but I don't think you ought to.
I don't think you should, but I think it'd be interesting if the concept was something along the lines of, let's say it is a Tony Stark where he's going to have to sacrifice himself to recreate stuff. He thinks to himself, I don't know how you get this across in the movie without it being terrible, but I'm not a screenwriter. It'd be interesting if he says, I'm going to bring everyone back, but not only that, we need more help if this shit goes bad again.
Sure.
So he turns the MCU into effectively a live-action version of what the comic books are, in that there aren't just like a dozen heroes in the world. They're everywhere now, and it's just the status quo, and everyone accepts it, and there's mutants. They don't accept it, you know, how X-Men works.
That would really change the Daredevil stuff.
That would also, I think, give credible reason for people in the MCU to not like mutants, but they do like the Avengers.
Yeah.
What? All of a sudden, Iron Man fucking snapped his fingers and 10% of the population has crazy powers now? What the fuck? What?
Yeah.
Like, you
know,
they
wouldn't know it was Iron Man, but yeah.
Whatever. You know what I mean? This thing with maybe they're suspicious because Thanos killed half the population. Everyone comes back, and now some of you have powers. We don't trust you.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. It'd probably be a good way to explain it after the fact. Probably not in the movie.
Sure.
Like, you know, after the events of whatever, you know, however you want to call it, probably the snap or something would be an interesting way to keep it. You know, people have come back and they have, you know, there's reports of people that can shoot lasers out of their eyes and men with claws. It's crazy out there. And just kind of on the news as an Easter egg. And then down the road, you have your X-Men movies, and hopefully they're not garbage.
B. Thorpe says, the problem with having a theme for each character is it would be hard to let them mesh. The channel Sideways did a good video on that. That's a good point, but that's kind of...
That's what I meant by they have like 80
That's the challenge that I want, though. I want them all to have themes, and then when we have an Avengers movie, I want a medley of them all mashed together, just like the movie is. I know that's a lot to ask.
That's so hard.
I recognize that, but Disney's already throwing like $1 billion at this movie.
Give it $1 billion more.
Fuck it. It doesn't cost $1 billion to do that, but you know what I mean. Anyway.
The composition involved with that would just be fucking outrageous.
What villain would you like to see in the next Spider-Man movie?
Mysterio.
Yeah, that's the one I'd agree with. That's the one that we've never really seen in any live action form, and even in animated, you don't see it a ton.
He's interesting.
Yeah, I like Mysterio. Plus, that's a good Peter Parker's still not like A-list. He's not Iron Man. He's still in high school. Mysterio's a good.
Mysterio can just be like Doctor Strange light. You know what I mean? Like,
well, Mysterio doesn't have actual power. You could lead in saying. That you make people think he's like a wizard like Doctor Strange, but it turns out no, he's just some asshole who has maybe like Vulture, maybe not because it'd be too similar to Vulture, but maybe he has collected tech or something where you know.
Or I think if you do with the mutant stuff, maybe he's a mutant that has very reminiscent powers to that, and
create basic
Peter just
illusions.
doesn't know how to deal with it.
I don't think you want to do mutant though, because that undercuts the entire point of Mysterio. That's like his big thing.
Mysterio is kind of
he's a special effects guy that became a villain. That's his thing. I don't think you can take that away. I think that's a really great choice actually for Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, I think Mysterio is probably where they should go. He's not the easiest one to do though. I'm worried they're going to stick with the Venom thing. Again, the effects on Venom look good, but I'm really worried about that movie.
Yeah, it's Sandman, but bigger this time. That's funny.
Thank you. Doc Ock is an easy one to do. That's boring.
I don't think they'll do that because Spider-Man 2 is considered like people love Spider-Man 2 still, so I don't think they'll do that. Plus, Doc Ock is the two villains that everyone is like. You can have an argument which is the arch enemy of Peter Parker,
Lizard
Green Goblin or Doc Ock.
It's Octopus. I think it's Doc Ock. I think Green Goblin is who makes Spider-Man go from Peter Parker in a Spider-Man suit to Spider-Man. Doc Ock is like the return guy. Kingpin is also one of those.
Yeah. I'd love to see Vincent D'Onofrio's
Kingpin
in a Spider-Man movie.
Ooh.
You'd have to wait some years before.
They need to be more mature.
That'd be adult Peter Parker taking on, maybe with Parker Industries. Maybe you have a dual thing where it's Kingpin.
Yeah, but that's
corporate
Vincent D'Onofrio in 5 years. I don't
We'll
know.
see. We'll see what happens. But I'd love to see a sort of parallel where you have a story where maybe Parker Industries is under onslaught from the Kingpin in the legal world. And fuck it if they want to at this point. I've given up hope of any crossover between the TV show and the movies. But I would love if they had a Kingpin v Spider-Man and there was a courtroom scene and Daredevil was his lawyer.
God damn it.
I know that'll never happen, but
that'd be okay.
A man can dream. So,
yeah. Just imagine the Iron Fist being used by the people that do these movies.
Yeah, competently.
Yeah,
crazy.
Okay.
Are we looking forward to the PS4 Spider-Man game?
Yeah.
I think that looks like a lot of fun. Yeah.
It does. It looks like a who's making it? It's not Rocksteady, but it looks like a Rocksteady game.
No, it's the people who did Ratchet and Clank.
I don't remember the studio.
They're very good.
But yeah. Trying to think of what else. I could probably talk about this forever, but I'm trying not to.
Yeah. Do Electro, but better than Jamie Foxx. Like any of the, you gotta wait a while. You gotta have you have cool downs on villains. You can't have it that soon.
Let me look up Spider-Man villains. There's a ton of them, and there's also not. I think Madam Web, is that her name?
She's not a villain.
I know, but Carnage is the best, most compelling visually. But he's going to be in the Venom movie, most likely, and then he's stolen.
You know what I think would be fun? And I think the Marvel Universe could do well? Yeah. You have these tropes of like, you have a femme fatale villain, like Catwoman.
Kraven the Hunter's not a terrible
That's pretty good. Villain. That would make sense. But anyway, you know what I'm talking about with Catwoman, or in the case of Spider-Man, Black Cat. In the case of Spider-Man, which is just a ripoff of Catwoman if you don't know who Black Cat is. But because Spider-Man is so young in this universe and he starts so young, I think it'd be funny if they did a movie where they sort of subvert that trope, where you have a Spider-Man and you have a villain who is Black Cat, who's that femme fatale type, but she doesn't realize he's like 15 and he's awkward because girl. I think that'd be funny if she's trying to do the Catwoman femme fatale thing and he's like awkward 16-year-old boy. I think that's funny if you do it correctly.
Yeah, but it can't be rapey.
No. You can't. You can walk up to a line and then you cannot cross it in that scenario. Right. But you can have her be like trying to be flirty with him and be like, what?
Scarecrow.
Scarecrow's a Batman villain.
It says it right here. I'm wondering if there was a crossover at some point. There's a lot of really, really, really bad ones.
How did they get away with Black Cat? I don't know. A lot of these. I think it's a tit for tat thing mostly at this point. Both Marvel and DC, even though
Dr. Doom is technically
he's an everyone villain. He's gone up against everyone. He's fucking fought Squirrel Girl.
J. Jonah Jameson is last.
I like that it's the 60s Spider-Man picture too. Oh, there's a Marvel Scarecrow. I guess I didn't know that. That's weird.
Let me see what the difference is.
I think it's mostly because DC and Marvel, despite them being very modern corporate companies that have no problem with suing each other, the fact that both of them have so many characters that are such obvious ripoffs of each other.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck, look at Thanos and Doomsday. I like Thanos, but come the fuck on. He's fucking Doomsday, but with a different story. And certainly the movie has changed that quite a bit, and they're very distinct characters now. But the initial, I think literally, I read an interview once where they were talking about the creation of Thanos, the character, and literally one of the editors said to them, hey, make us Doomsday, but
right.
Make a Doomsday, okay? Do this. And they pointed at a picture of Doomsday. So, I just think it's a case of there's so much ripoffs in comics, it's just intrinsically part of the industry. Now, today, if you were to go out and try and create a character that's a blatant ripoff, you might not have as good of a time, but a lot of those old characters, I feel like, are sort of just grandfathered into, whatever.
There's a worldwide mind purging of Spider-Man's identity at some point, but the villain, known as the Jackal, is unaffected. There's the Jackal.
Okay.
He's just a green guy.
Yeah, because in Civil War, Spider-Man was like, I'm Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Comics, not movie, obviously.
Yeah. It's got to be Mysterio or Kraven.
I meant Darkseid.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I knew what you meant. Yeah. Mysterio or Kraven the Hunter. Those are the two that I think are possible, and those are the only two that I think are compelling without having a semi-crossover thing going on. Like, I think Spider-Man and the Hulk would be a fun movie.
Yeah.
Spider-Man and anybody else would be kind of a fun movie.
Oh, dude. I would... Spider-Man, Ant-Man, the movie?
Oof.
Love it. I'd love to see that just because I want to see Spider-Man. Because I've seen so many things with Spider-Man in a city. Hook Spider-Man up with one of those Ant-Man suits, but it's a Spider-Man looking suit,
sure.
So he doesn't look weird the whole movie.
And
he's dealing with stuff on a small scale, and maybe he has to deal with spiders in the same way Ant-Man deals with ants. I don't know. I know you're rolling your eyes, but pretend it's not what I just said, but take what I just said, put it through a competency filter that Disney would put it through, and then that idea is the idea you should be picturing in your head, not the rough idea I'm having.
You mean Rick Moranis in a Spider-Man costume is what I shouldn't think of?
Well, now I just want
to Shrunk Ourselves.
Now I want to see that movie.
Well, Rick Moranis is out of the game. His waifu died, and then he can't. Wow, waifu really denigrates her position in his life, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Janet Van Dyne, one of the founding members of the original Avengers. Waifu. It's okay. Hank Pym smacks her once, so I think that's okay to say. Oh, they could use Scorpion. Scorpion was in the first Spider-Man movie. The guy who is Scorpion, he wasn't Scorpion yet.
Oh, that's right.
One of I think the henchmen.
He had a thing.
Yeah. So.
I'm fine. I'm fine with an homage like that. I would like it to be not a tech person, though. Like, I think the idea of Spider-Man solo going up against someone with powers is compelling. You can't do that in the first one. It was literally his
Spider-Man's
semi-girlfriend's dad there. That's kind of funny.
Spider-Man villains are pretty much all science gone wrong, though, because he's a science gone wrong guy.
No, absolutely. But, some of the villains do have
No, I
powers.
understand that.
So that's what I mean. What I mean is, like, the next one needs to have powers, I think. Because he's clearly more competent now in these films. He's not just pointless.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So.
All right.
I'm also really surprised there was no Aunt May.
Yeah.
I really thought that, like, Tony, I think we mentioned this in the preview. Tony would call up Spider-Man like, hey, I need your help. Hey, how's Aunt May doing?
I appreciate that it was pretty smart how they got everyone involved in it. Yeah. Again, didn't feel contrived. I remember thinking when the first Avengers was going to come out, and there were only, 5 fucking characters? Yeah. You're like, how are they going to do too many? Now there's goddamn 20 billion characters, and it's just like...
Yeah, it makes sense.
They're fucking doing it. I don't know how they're doing it competently without me every 5 minutes going, if I can just feel if this were a DC movie, how exhausted I would feel 5 minutes in.
Because you mean like the Superman scene?
Yeah.
So.
I don't feel like the first 5 minutes of this movie are apologizing to me for the last movie, right. Which every DC movie feels like it has been for the past 4 years or so.
Okay, do we have any last questions? Or are we good?
Let's
We're good
check.
to go.
Let's check it out.
Because we're working on what, almost 2 hours here.
Oh God, are we?
Yeah, we're very pumped about this. So I'll go into chat as well, and I'll look for anything that I think.
Someone mentions the story where Hank Pym smacks Janet. I recognize that there were extenuating circumstances. It's just a hilarious, out of context panel to show people to be like,
Yeah.
hey, remember that time Ant-Man smacked his wife? It's like, what?
Yeah.
It's very bizarre.
Do you think that Doctor Strange was right to give up the time stone? My friends were really annoyed with it, even though I pointed out that it was the only one who's... No, of course.
Your friends are dumb.
Yeah, your friends are super dumb, and you should get new ones, because the guy who saw the future saw that this was the one. He said he literally says there's one path.
He also says after that, we're entering the end game now. Like, they couldn't have telegraphed that anymore. Which fight scene did we like the most? Good. That's actually a really good question. I hadn't thought about it because they were all really good and I enjoyed them for different reasons.
So the one I liked the most as a pure fight scene was the fight on Titan where Spider-Man's jumping through the portals and stuff. But the best fight scene as far as tone and oh fuck was that last one where Cap is like holding the gauntlet.
That's pretty great.
That's my favorite one.
Oh boy. I really like this is gonna sound bad and it's gonna make it sound like I thought the film went downhill from the beginning, but I think the biggest moment for me was still that Thanos Hulk fight at the beginning where it just showed off immediately.
That's that's probably my third or second. Yeah.
This guy is formidable. Don't fuck with him.
Yeah. The Captain Marvel foreshadowing at the end. A lot of people walked out beforehand, which I don't understand that. I just don't understand people walking out of Marvel movies.
Some people just don't care.
I guess, but it's just so weird. It was like 40 people. It's crazy to me. Yeah, I thought it was very cool. My butt puckered a little bit when I saw the symbol of just a split second. I thought it might be Nova, but it wasn't. It was Captain Marvel, which is absolutely fine as well. But I'm a big fan of Nova. I
find it so funny too that Nick Fury clearly has this beeper on him all the time. Oh, something else I didn't mention, character moment. Something I really like is Tony Stark. When he's at Doctor Strange's house, he already has that Captain America cell phone. He was just in the park with Pepper. He carries that cell phone on him all the time.
Oh, no, yeah.
I really like that.
Well, no, because he was, he's had that cell phone since Civil War.
Oh, yeah.
And he even mentions flip phone because Cap only had a flip phone. He only knew cursory stuff about... The idea of the writers thinking Cap could give Tony Stark a smartphone.
I think it was also just burner phone. When people think burner phone...
No, I think definitely there was burner phone. But it says Steve Rogers and his fucking phone number. It doesn't not say anything.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It's not necessarily... Cap is not a criminal. He doesn't know not to put his fucking information in. I think Steve Rogers doesn't know how to operate a smartphone, or at least didn't.
Okay.
So I think there's a little bit of flavor of both. I think it's iconography wise. Of course, it makes sense to have we see that a lot in films. People get burner phones that are flip phones.
Also, it helps the audience remember what it is because it was just a smartphone he took out. It'd be less significant.
Yes, exactly. So I think it works in several different avenues. And if you ask the writers why, I guarantee they'll say Steve Rogers doesn't know how to use a smartphone. He's from the 40s. You know what I mean?
Whatever.
So it was cute.
The other thing I was going to say though,
fuck, that's actually kind of cool. Look at that.
Yeah, I've seen that before.
I've never seen that.
It's hilarious to me that Nick Fury's been carrying this super space beeper on him since the 90s. Avengers happened. He didn't feel the need to call Captain Marvel.
No. I think she's not around. I think she has to be activated.
But he could have pressed that button during Avengers Age of Ultron.
No, I imagine in Captain Marvel we'll get an idea of what's going on, and she may be either not there or across the universe, and there was a falling out situation or something. I just don't think, because it wasn't just a beeper. You know what I mean? It was like a contraption. Sure. So I think there's definitely more to it. And after we see the movie Captain Marvel, we'll understand kind of what's going on there.
Yeah. This is a good point. Someone brings up because of Xandar, it could be that the Nova Corps is wiped out and Nova becomes a thing and takes up the mantle of Nova in the name of the Nova Corps is gone now because Thanos killed them.
Nova could be his own hero.
So now I'll be Space Cop, basically.
I think that's probably what it is.
Oh.
Which means John C. Reilly is dead.
Yeah, well.
Captain America should have went as Nomad. If you
He was Nomad. He just
should have gone as Nomad.
Did you want the super? By the way, I told you to Google the Nomad costume earlier. It's
Oh,
literally
I'll do it.
It's a deep V that goes all the way to the crotch. It's beautiful. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. It's great.
Nomad Steve Rogers.
Yeah. Look at this. Look at this. It's beautiful.
Oh, buddy.
It's beautiful. It's the most ridiculous costume. I don't know.
That?
Oh yeah. That's Nomad.
The Nomad.
You want to show them?
I do. I got to turn my brightness down so they can actually see it.
Yeah.
But oh boy, that's terrible. Actually, I can turn it up a little bit. The camera is not being as finicky as it usually is. So yeah, that's the Nomad costume.
I'm glad they didn't go with that.
No, just the Captain America costume that's a little bit darker, probably just dirty, and then he ripped off the star himself.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
Which actually, I feel like
here's another version of Nomad.
I think
with a shotgun.
Yeah, I feel like the star being ripped off like that, I think that was literally I mean, obviously he's not being Captain America anymore. It makes sense. But the fact that there is like a missing thing right there on his chest makes me think they were like, how do we do Nomad without it being super fucking stupid? And they just went, instead of like totally empty here, it'll just be, blank star, which is good. That's a good adaptation.
I hate how my mobile thing deals with pictures, but
someone says, yeah, that looks like the kind of thing a conservative from the 40s would wear. I don't know if Captain America would have been for the 40s. Captain America wasn't conservative. Steve Rogers, not a lick of racism, no sexism, really. He might have some old-fashioned attitudes.
There's only one God, ma'am.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure he's on our side.
That's the most conservative he's ever been.
In case you didn't notice while watching, here's a pretty good view of that, just being ripped off. And there's some, like the work on it, like it looks like he like literally at one point just fucking ripped it with his hand, which I like.
Yeah.
I like disillusioned Steve Rogers a lot. I kind of think that's where I want him to stick around. I know that they're going to give him Captain America shit at some point. I don't know how are they going to reinstill his patriotism?
Well, they might just kill him. Who knows? Someone says Cap is not conservative. What the fuck? And then someone says Cap is conservative. It depends on which version you're talking about. Main universe and MCU Captain America, not conservative. Actually, a pretty liberal guy. Ultimate Captain Marvel, very conservative. Ultimate Captain America, rather. Sorry, very conservative.
He's not conservative. He likes black people.
Ultimate Captain Marvel. God, I keep doing that. Ultimate Captain America was written in such a way as, what if a guy who was actually from the 40s woke up today and he is kind of racist and doesn't like the French? And
John C. Reilly has been emotionally dead for years. Thanks, Max. Yeah, I get you. Yeah. Imagine Chris Evans in that Nomad costume. Yum. That's gayer than Robin's thigh gap.
2019 Spider-Man. Peter Parker is back, or do we get Miles Morales?
No, Peter Parker.
Peter Parker will be back. He's definitely signed on for like 10 movies. I do think eventually we'll get, I think like 10 years down the line, and I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that, I think we'll get a very reminiscent relationship similar to the Tony Spider-Man relationship, but with Peter and either Miles or some other hero who's younger.
I thought we were gonna get Spider-Gwen.
They haven't delved into the.
In the Andrew Garfield movies. I thought.
Oh, okay.
I thought if those were successful, we'd get Spider-Gwen, but at the end, he turns to the camera and says, "Hail Hydra." What did you guys think of the Jesus joke? It was a Jesus joke. Yeah. How did it go?
What master do you follow? And Star-Lord's like, what, am I supposed to say Jesus or something? It's funny.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I've seen the movie twice. My audience has reacted different both times to that joke. Isn't that weird? The first time the audience there was like almost a nervous laughter. Like, I don't know if that audience was just more Christians were in that audience, but the second time people thought it was fucking hilarious. So it's interesting that
I thought it was a decent joke.
I think it's fine.
Yeah. How could Robert Downey Jr. and Cumberbatch... This is a good point, Michael Thomas. How could Robert Downey Jr. and Cumberbatch spend basically the entire movie together and they didn't make a single joke about them not being Sherlock Holmes?
I have I have a moment in the movie that I could argue, if you really want to stretch it, maybe. Okay.
Why is Starhoon trying to, in the spoiler review, spoil people?
Because they're dumb.
Anyway. That's so dumb. You're the dumbest person.
Yep.
Leave. Or stay and just be ridiculed for being dumb.
Anyway, so Tony Stark is talking to Doctor Strange, and he is like, he's trying to convince him to go to Titan and not turn the ship around.
Right.
And he's trying to talk to him very logically, and then he says, "Do you concur, Doctor?" Which
loved it.
Which is very.
That was kind of a Sherlock Holmes.
It's I feel like it's clearly him talking to him like a doctor would talk to another doctor, giving a consult. But "do you concur" is also a thing Sherlock Holmes says to Watson sometimes. It was
probably a nod. I don't think it was a joke.
I feel like you can't just be like him say to the other, "No shit, Sherlock. we both played the same character. Get it?" You can't do that.
Yeah, I got mad thinking
dumb.
about that. Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah. No. I don't know what that means.
The animated Spider-Verse movie actually looks animation-wise pretty beautiful. Did you see the trailer for that?
I feel like I did watch it once, but
it looks wonderful. The animation, it's by Sony, so I don't know how the actual movie's going to be, but at the very least, it looks like it'll be visually quite interesting. But I don't know.
How different do you think the MCU will be after Avengers 4? That's probably a good one to leave it on.
We'll end on that.
So after Infinity War, after this is all done and the Thanos storyline's wrapped up, how do we think things are going to change?
I think for the most part, the original Avengers, the ones that showed up in Avengers,
I think the ones that are left over, basically.
That being Steve Rogers, Tony Stark, the Hulk, Thor. Black Widow, Thor, and Hawkeye.
I assume Hawkeye's alive.
Yeah, I assume this will be their last movie as front starring.
I think Thor's going to stick around still.
I think a lot of them will stick around. I just don't think they'll be starring. They'll be the and alsos. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
They'll take more of a backseat. Even if like Tony Stark lives, for instance, I would love if like he continued to be in these movies. I really like Tony Stark, but I could see him more as, we have a tech problem, like in the comics. How it works in the comics is we have a tech problem. We either go to Tony Stark or we go to Reed Richards.
Those are the two.
You know what I mean? They become essentially consultants for the other heroes. And I wouldn't mind that being the case in this in the movies moving forward. If you have a magic problem, you go to Doctor Strange. Don't get me wrong, he'll be a lead. And I think it'll shift forward and we'll get the new Avengers, the new leads will be Doctor Strange, Ant-Man, Spider-Man, Captain Marvel, potentially if Captain America dies, whoever the new Captain America is, whether it be Bucky or Falcon.
It's Bucky.
Okay. And then Falcon will continue probably to be Falcon.
I'm fine with Anthony Mackie as Mackie's character's never gotten like, unless they do it in the next movie, he's never gotten this like, oh yeah, he should be.
Yeah.
It always feels like Bucky ought to be because Bucky has this, He has
a history with Steve.
Well, not just the history with Steve. He's his best friend, but also he's been, to the bottom, and then he's kind of picked up the mantle back again, and now he's a hero again.
That's good. You could have some good pathos in if you do another Captain America movie, but with him as Captain America.
I also like the idea of Cap never taking up the moniker of Captain America again.
Yeah.
But Bucky doing it as an homage, not as a patriotism thing.
Sure.
Being like, I'm Captain America, but the Captain America Steve wanted to be, not the Captain America you wanted him to be. And I think that's probably where they're going.
You could have a movie about the public not trusting Bucky being Captain America and him being like
Winter Soldier.
And it could have themes of redemption and what it means to be a hero and not being defined by your past.
I think new Captain America, that movie would be really good. Yeah. I also think as far as just moving forward, Steve, Tony are both dead. I do like the idea of Tony getting the happy ending because he was talking about a family and the dude's literally been dealing with PTSD for 6 years in the MCU. I also find it extremely compelling as a person who really likes films for Tony to die.
Yeah, they've been building to it for so long.
If he doesn't die, it's gotta be Cap, and Iron Man has to be right next to him.
Yeah.
Like, it just has to be, because
it doesn't even.
They have to make up. They didn't talk in this movie again.
I know. Thematically, I don't feel like it makes enough sense for Steve to be the sacrifice. Steve is already self-sacrificial. He doesn't have.
He wants to be self-sacrificial, and kind of the point is Tony has never wanted that. But he's so pragmatic, and he's seen, like, when he in Civil War he got the Chitauri shit. That was after he got PTSD. So in Civil War that was Ultron. Back in Ultron, he sees the Chitauri shit, and he gets the PTSD flashback shit, and then he sees all of his friends dead around him, and he's the last one standing. I think we're gonna get that actual scene, and he's
gonna see that, bring everyone back to life, and he'll die.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, so I do think that was foreshadowing. I don't, it's just. I think that's it's not the ending Tony deserves, especially because, like, Robert Downey Jr. literally created this.
Him and Jon Favreau,
and Happy. Is he dead? I don't know what's Happy's doing.
No, Happy's fine.
Happy's fine.
I guess he could have disappeared after the snap.
Gwyneth Paltrow also could have. But I also think that if you have a. Like, maybe Pepper's dead.
I have an even fucking more heartbreaking idea.
Well, I was thinking Soul Stone Afterlife, but
I was gonna say, oh my god, this is so terrible.
All right,
this is so terrible.
Let's hear it.
Okay, the next movie starts.
Yeah,
it doesn't start like immediately after this one. Years have passed.
Ooh,
Tony and the rest of the Avengers that are left he's been guilt-stricken, and he's been trying to fix the snap for years.
That makes sense.
In this time, Gwyneth Paltrow didn't disappear. Pepper's there. They have a kid. In fixing this, Tony has to undo having the kid.
Oh, fuck yeah, that'd be good. That'd actually be really, really good. That's good. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Do you think they would do it, though? It's Disney.
That's ballsy.
Abortion. That's kind of abortion.
It's abortion with extra steps.
It is a lot. And I dig it.
I think that'd be a really heartbreaking thing for Tony to have to do.
And what if Tony doesn't die, but he'll always know?
Oh.
So.
And he gives up being a hero, and that's why he quits being Iron Man.
Yeah, and he's like, I can't, like, what kind of hero would do that? So you guys are the heroes.
I like that.
I really like that. That sucks for fucking Tony. But I think Robert Downey Jr. would do an amazing job, and that's kind of why I want it.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd do that to Chris Evans.
Yeah.
Chris Evans can't have sex, though. He's Captain America. He literally has to be celibate.
You know what? If Tony dies, though, you know what they should do? And I think they could do? Tony Stark is dead.
Yeah.
But at the last scene in the movie, or one of the last scenes in the movie, is they go into his office or whatever, and they turn on the computer, and there's a new AI, and it's Tony Stark.
No.
But it's not actually Tony. It's an AI based on him, and if they ever need help from
that way, you just get Robert Downey Jr. sass.
If you ever need help from Tony in the future, it gets him out of the way as Iron Man, but if you ever need tech help, he's there. And also, Robert Downey Jr. doesn't have to show up on set. You can call him, and he can record.
I think they both should die.
And he can record VO. I'm just saying.
I think they both should die.
I don't know.
Because I don't think Cap would just let Iron Man do that by himself. I think that'd be the first time they talk.
I could
ever the first time they talk, the last, and again also the last time since Civil War, where there's almost irrevocably split. The last time they talk, and the first time since Civil War, is right when they're both saving the world together, sacrificing themselves. I think, and depending on the dialogue there, I think that could be a really, really strong emotional point to hinge the next phase on. Like, so I think they both have to be killed.
I could see it. I
kind of want that, because if it's just Tony, it's really sad and it's like depressing. But if it's both of them, it's a heroic sad.
It's heroic, and it's
right. If it's just Tony, fuck, that guy's life shit.
Yeah.
But if it's both, I think it's more of a...
It's a hope. It's more...
Yeah. It's an ideal.
We sacrifice ourselves for the grander ideal of...
Right. And it's the exact opposite of what Thanos did.
Yeah.
Which I think is...
That makes sense.
You know.
God, I could even see moving forward.
Especially
Again,
if they say the word like, no man can hold this, only Thanos. And then Cap's like, what about two? And grabs this thing. Or or he says something real corny, like, what about a friend? He would, though. The thing is, when Steve Rogers says corny shit, I don't cringe.
The thing that I'm a little concerned about that I really hope doesn't happen. Here's my
cynical,
I'm afraid it's going to happen ending.
Nobody dies.
Nobody dies, everyone gets brought back, and the first and only time we ever hear Captain America say Avengers Assemble is after they've already defeated Thanos, and they all get together and hold hands because they all got to use the Infinity Gauntlet together.
No. It's got to be.
That's what DC would do if they owned this property.
Right, that's why
Warner Brothers.
Well, also, I just think the vision that Tony saw is nothing like that.
I know.
So I don't think we're set up for that.
I'm normally so cynical. Luckily, I mean, it is cynical in that this is a money-making product, and Disney is just.
Well, I think we're still going to get zingers. You're still going to get some pop culture references. You're still going to get flops as far as jokes, but you're still going to get like the thing there. Each character has like a heart, and I kind of know what each character is about. And in Justice League, do you give a shit about Barry's life? No, because they just threw them out there.
They murdered.
They didn't spend 10 years.
Batman versus Superman killed the icon of Americana.
Yeah.
And I didn't give a fuck. I was like, when's this movie done? How do you kill Superman and I don't care? And after 2 movies, you make me go, oh, Peter, no.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just bizarre. By the way, fun stat. In its opening weekend, Marvel's Infinity War made more money internationally and domestically combined than Justice League made during its entire theatrical run. So, if anyone from Warner Brothers ever watches this, you won't. But this is hypothetical, so we can laugh at you. Good movies that people enjoy, and sure, Marvel, it's a cynical product there to make money.
Sure.
But you know why I'm not mad at that? Because it's a good product.
Yeah.
The same reason I'm not mad when I order a pizza and the pizza comes and it's good, and I'm like, I'm glad I bought that pizza. Whereas DC, it's like I ordered a pizza and it shows up.
But it was one of these pizzas that promises gourmet.
And you open it and half the pizza's gone. And
the cheese comes off on the lid.
There's just a sandwich on the pizza for some reason.
But there's one good slice, and part of that is okay, and it tastes a lot like Ben Affleck's on-screen performance.
And there's a note on it that says, "Sorry, ate half your pizza. Owe you 1/2 pizza. Love, Zack Snyder."
And it's all,
and you're like, "Is that Joss Whedon's pee?"
And then you got stuffed crust, and when you bite into it, it's just tears.
Yeah. Again.
And blood.
I'm a DC fanboy.
And grit.
I want to see a Justice League movie. In my life, I believe we'll get a DC universe.
Cornmeal crust on that. It's a little gritty.
Yeah.
A little dark.
I think within our lifetime, we'll get a DC universe that's actually viable and entertaining.
Absolutely.
And that's a great thing.
Actually, Disney, just buy it. When you take over the planet in 2080, we'll be long gone.
The United Disneylands of America.
United Federation.
We're no longer
Waltz.
states. We're just
everyone's named Walt, and we all wear monochromatic
the
robes with Mickey Mouse on it.
The executive branch has been replaced by the Hall of Presidents.
I kind of like the executive branch being replaced by the executive producers.
You know what?
Yeah, that's okay.
Right now,
that makes us key grips.
Best boys. That's different than a key grip.
Yeah, they do different jobs.
Look it up. So I guess that's it. I could sit here and literally talk about this for too fucking long.
Well, it's 2 hours. It's already been too long.
All right.
Already been far too long.
So everyone, I hope you enjoyed the movie. We certainly did. Woo! And we'll obviously be here to talk about all the Marvel stuff coming out in the next couple of years, all the news up to Infinity War Part 2 or whatever it's called. Obviously, Ant-Man and the Wasp we'll be talking about this week because the new trailer comes out tomorrow, and I'm sure we'll be talking about that. They've already started their aggressive marketing campaign for that, by the way. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that movie will be fun.
They earned the right to aggressively market their next film, right?
Again, I want to be. I'm as cynical as I can be. It's a product, but it's a good product. Go buy it if it's worth it to you. Damn.
Yeah.
They did it. How did they do it? What?